Lu Mingfei is so unremarkable that nobody expects him to accomplish anything, not even finishing school. Yet in a rare moment of bravery, he confesses his feelings to the girl he has loved for years. But being the underdog he is, she ends up choosing a wealthy boy instead. After all, Mingfei has nothing going for him. But this turns out to be the moment where everything in his life begins to shift dramatically, enough to make even Jing Wu take notice. Mingfei is just a powerless, overlooked, and deeply disliked person who has completely isolated himself inside his small room like a hermit. His only source of happiness comes from hammering away at his keyboard for hours on end. At least in the online world, this guy is a genuine legend and one of the highest ranked players on the entire server. Right now, he is sweating through an intense match against his only real friend, an online companion who probably does not even know Mingfei's real name. The guy is pressing keys with everything. He has fingers moving faster than his grades ever could. He somehow manages to pull off a win, celebrates quietly to himself, and watches his friend go offline. The victory feels completely empty though, because the moment the server goes quiet, so does Mingfei's motivation. Out of pure boredom, he pulls up the profile of his online crush, a certified catfish he has somehow fallen for, and nearly drools all over his grimy keyboard. Then, without any warning, he receives a duel invitation from a top-ranking player named Modong. Mingfei accepts without a second thought, assuming this is just another easy opponent for him to handle. But the moment the match begins, his confidence gets completely destroyed. Modong's skill level is not just impressive, but also terrifying. The player is so extraordinarily skilled that Mingfei has to stand up from his chair and engage like he is competing in a major tournament. Then comes the real embarrassment. In the middle of the match, Modong sends him a private message predicting his very next move before he even makes it. And those predictions turn out to be completely correct. The match ends with Mingfei getting demolished so thoroughly that he sits frozen in his chair in disbelief. He checks Modong's profile only to find it completely empty. A mysterious rival has now entered his life. Shaken and humiliated, Mingfei rage quits and logs off. Meanwhile, across town, the truth is revealed. The player who destroyed him is actually Chen Modong, a high-ranking dragon slayer at Castle College, known online by her alias Motong. She is casually riding through the city with her friends when the conversation turns to Mingfei. Apparently, the school's principal has his eye on this reclusive young man, believing he has the potential to become an S-rank student. Motang does not buy it for a moment, so she challenges him in the game just to evaluate the situation herself. After defeating him, she becomes even more irritated when she discovers he has already received a personal scholarship from the principal. Curious but annoyed, she logs into Castle College's artificial intelligence system, Ava, to dig up everything about Mingfei's life. The system reveals everything about him. He has no friends at school, no presence in society whatsoever, has been abandoned by his parents, and currently lives with his aunt, uncle, and his arrogant cousin Mings, all of whom treat him terribly. Mingfei's only real amusement in the outside world is catfishing Mings online and pretending to date him as a form of petty revenge. His family yells at him every single day, telling him to find work or accept a life of permanent failure and poverty. As if that were not already depressing enough, Eva reveals that his dream career is not to be a hero, a scholar, or any kind of powerful figure. This man's greatest ambition is to work at a newspaper stand, simply so he can earn just enough money to top up his gaming account and keep playing. Endlessly. Motong's jaw drops and her friend nearly steers their car off the road because the idea of this person being S-rank worthy makes absolutely no sense to either of them. Meanwhile, Mingfei gets pushed out of the house to run grocery errands. On his way back, he stops at the mailbox and finds a letter along with a strange device inside. The first letter is a rejection from an international university, which stings. The second letter is an acceptance into Castle College, personally signed by Professor Guderian, who has even offered to personally mentor him. Mingfei slaps himself in the face to check if he is dreaming, but no, it is entirely real. He rushes home with the news, only for his entire family to dismiss it as a scam. His aunt accuses him of forging the letter. His cousin Mings laughs directly in his face and tells him there is no way someone like him could get into Castle College, a school reserved for superpowered hybrids like the legendary Chu Shihong, one of the most powerful students alive. In the middle of the argument, Mingfei drifts into a daydream where Chu Shihong himself lands in a helicopter, bows before him, and calls him master. Then reality pulls him back, and the fantasy vanishes. He starts to think his family might be right and that this whole thing is just some elaborate prank. But just as he turns to leave, the mysterious device from the letter suddenly starts ringing. His aunt picks it up, only to hear that the caller wants to schedule an interview with Mingfei the very next day regarding his Castle College acceptance. Everyone in the room goes completely silent. That night, Mingfei tells his online best friend about the whole situation. Unlike his toxic family, this friend is genuinely excited for him and offers helpful advice on how to present himself well at the interview. For the first time in a long while, Mingfei feels a small but real spark of hope, completely unaware that this is only the beginning of a chaotic, new chapter in his life. The next day, Mingfei drags himself to the interview building in the city. He is already nervous before he even walks in, and things get worse when he notices some of his former classmates are there as well. Apparently, they all received the same acceptance letter. Among them is the person who has held his heart captive for years, his longtime crush, Chen Wenwin. Naturally, Mingfei immediately loses his composure. While waiting in line, he asks her how she ended up there, trying to sound relaxed but managing only awkward small talk. He even gives her an uncomfortable little pep talk, telling her not to be nervous since she was already considered a model student back in high school. Wenwen smiles and thanks him, and that small interaction is the greatest thing that has happened to him in years. One by one, students are called inside until it is finally Mingfei's turn. He has been mentally rehearsing possible interview questions all night long, like someone cramming for a final exam. But instead of asking about his background or ambitions, the examiner throws the most unexpected question imaginable at him. Do you believe in aliens? Mingfei nearly slides off his chair in disbelief. He had prepared for something straightforward, but instead walks into a conversation that sounds like a conspiracy theory discussion. Another interviewer tells him bluntly that his personal history is completely irrelevant and that these unusual questions are what actually matter. So Mingfei, being the genuine and somewhat clueless person he is, answers the question seriously. He says he does believe in aliens, explains that he gazes at the night sky every evening like a quiet philosopher, and argues that the universe is simply far too large for extraterrestrial life not to exist somewhere. When it is all over, he stands up, apologizes to the examiners, and essentially gives up on the entire thing, stating he must have come to the wrong school entirely. Then, he walks out the door in defeat. But inside the building, things are far from calm. A man storms in and confronts the interviewers directly. This is not just any man, it is Professor Guderian himself. When he finds out that Mingfei walked out after only a single question, he completely loses his temper. He reprimands the interviewers for not convincing the boy to stay and orders them to contact him and bring him back immediately. Even the interviewers are baffled about why this seemingly ordinary young man is being treated like such a priority. Meanwhile, Mingfei is walking home, feeling sorry for himself when he runs into Wenwen outside. She casually invites him to a graduation party, and he agrees on the spot without any hesitation. In his head, he is already picturing marriage, a life together in the city, and a picture-perfect future. His aunt informs him that Professor Guderian personally called the house. Mingfei apparently passed the interview and is officially accepted into Castle College. The same person who walked out after one question has somehow still managed to get in. The professor calmly explains that Mingfei's scholarship includes $36,000 deposited into his account each year, along with full accommodation at the academy. The moment she hears the amount, his aunt completely changes her position and begins urging him to accept the offer without delay. His family is completely confused, so the professor produces a letter written by Mingfei's own parents. The letter reveals the truth about his mother. She did not leave because she stopped caring about him, but because of the nature of her bloodline. She had personally asked the principal to offer her son a scholarship when the time was right. Reading through her words, Mingfei completely breaks down. He rushes to the bathroom, tears falling onto the paper he is holding. For once, the person everyone treats as a joke is experiencing something deeply real and painful. His mother's letter makes clear that she has always loved him and only ever wanted what was best for him. Any sympathy. She tells him to pull himself together and escorts him back to the meeting like someone managing a very dramatic child. When Mingfei returns, Professor Guderian asks him directly what he thinks about enrolling in Castle College. The man has just been offered a golden ticket to the most prestigious school in existence, and his answer is essentially that he will think about it. Mingfei nearly chokes in shock. He cannot figure out how she knows about Chen Wenwen. For a brief moment, he suspects she has been watching him, but she admits she simply made an educated guess. Even so, her words clearly hit a nerve. Then Motong accidentally says something word for word identical to what she told him during their online duel. And that is when everything clicks into place for Mingfei. Motong and Motong are the same person. The very girl who humiliated him in the game has been in front of him this whole time. The embarrassment multiplies instantly. Later, Mingfei sits alone on a rooftop trying to process how this girl seems to know so much about his personal life. He even takes out his phone, preparing to send a love confession to Chen Wenwen like the hopelessly romantic person he is. But before he can go through with it, Motong appears behind him out of nowhere like a sudden shock. She explains that Ava, the school's AI system, can locate him at any time and that Guderian sent her to make one final attempt at convincing him. Yet Mingfei, in true fashion, still refuses. He tells Motong he cannot commit to Castle College because his feelings for Wenwen are too strong and he needs to confess before he goes anywhere. He is genuinely willing to walk away from money, power, and an extraordinary future just for a girl who barely notices him. Motong delivers the honest truth without softening it at all. Wenwen does not have feelings for him, has never had them, and he is about to destroy his own future by chasing someone who simply does not care. But Mingfei insists he still has a real chance. Because Wenwen agreed to attend the graduation party with him, Motong does everything she can to make him understand the reality of the situation. If he does not accept the offer now, this opportunity may disappear permanently, but his heart refuses to listen to reason. The next day, he goes out shopping with Wenwen to get supplies for the party, and Motong confronts him once more, warning him that the professor is leaving that very night and that a final decision must be made immediately. Still, Mingfei pushes back, holding on to his dream of a heartfelt confession at the party. He then spends several hours standing in front of a mirror, rehearsing romantic lines like a character in a low-budget drama, and because he has almost no money, he picks wildflowers straight from the ground to give to Wenwen. His grand romantic gesture is literally funded by the earth beneath his feet. When the party finally begins, his supposed best friend Xiaomeng hands him a suit, making him look at least somewhat presentable. Mingfei walks toward the stage with his bouquet, prepared to pour his heart out completely. But just as he is about to confess, Xiaomangu commits the ultimate act of betrayal. He strides out holding his own flowers and confesses to Wenwen first. And to make it even worse, Wenwen accepts him. She admits openly that she has feelings for Xiaomangu as well. It becomes clear that both of them have been stringing Mingfei along the entire time. Zhao is not just a disloyal friend, he has orchestrated this entire situation as a humiliating prank. And the girl Mingfei has placed on a pedestal chooses Zhao right there in front of everyone, publicly dismantling every hope Mingfei has been holding on to. Mingfei stands completely still, saying nothing, entirely shattered on the inside. His closest friend has betrayed him. The girl he cared about has rejected him publicly, and his entire emotional world has collapsed in a single, very public moment. He stands there like a statue, drowning in pain and humiliation. Just when it seems like things cannot possibly get any worse, she descends the graduation steps with her group of subordinates, claps her hands, and within moments has her crew replace Mingfei's ordinary outfit with something that actually makes him look like he belongs somewhere important. Motong then links her arm through his in full view of the entire crowd, causing a wave of stunned reactions throughout the room. She turns to face Wenwen and Xiaomangu and dismisses them both with a composed smile, stating that Mingfei has far more significant things ahead of him than whatever is happening in this room. Xiaomangu is visibly consumed by jealousy, but Motong shuts that down immediately by declaring that this is the last time anyone in this room will ever see this version of Mingfei, which is perhaps the most dignified thing he has ever done. The two of them drive off together until the car runs out of fuel, forcing them to stop and wait. In this quieter moment, Motong drops her composed exterior and admits that she simply cannot afford to fail her mission of bringing him to Castle Academy. But Mingfei, in a moment of genuine gratitude that feels very unlike him, thanks her sincerely for not giving up on him. Eva pulls up all of his data, identifies him as an S-Rank student, and issues him an official student ID. Motong then turns the moment into something almost ceremonial, placing an imaginary crown on his head and declaring him the king of Castle College. Even though he has not yet done a single thing to earn the title, Mingfei is completely overwhelmed, looking like someone who has just discovered a hidden ability within themselves. Motong warns him that people in this world will go to extreme lengths, including risking their lives for a crown like this, just as others once did for his parents. Then, in a genuinely surprising turn, she formally submits herself to him, pledging to serve as his personal guide and most loyal subordinate. Mingfei, who has spent his entire life being pushed around and looked down upon by everyone, is so moved by this moment that he almost cries from the sudden change in his circumstances and gladly accepts her as his very first true ally. Eva saves all of Mingfei's information into the school system, which immediately sends out an alert to the entire student body announcing the arrival of their new king. A few days later, Mingfei heads to the airport to begin his journey to Castle College, and everything from this point forward will be different. An officer looks at him with complete contempt and assumes he is a homeless beggar, telling him to head to the nearest embassy for free food and a place to sleep. Mingfei is absolutely furious. He has just been declared a king, and yet, his day continues to get worse when he attempts to buy a burger with the last of his money, only for the cashier to flat out refuse to serve him, insisting that they do not accommodate beggars. Just as Mingfei is reaching his absolute limit, a silver-haired student appears out of nowhere. This is Finger von Frings, a dedicated freeloader who immediately asks to borrow money for a soft drink. Mingfei, certain that this is some kind of trick, refuses without hesitation. But then Finger notices Mingfei's Castle College subway card and reacts with complete shock, pulling out his own identical card in response. Mingfei realizes that this strange person is actually a fellow student at Castle College. His disappointment quickly turns to relief, though Finger still somehow manages to talk some money out of him anyway. As the two of them wait together, Finger shares his rather unfortunate history. He is well known at Castle College, but not for any impressive reason. He has failed so many classes repeatedly that he has been demoted all the way from a rank down to F rank. He goes on to explain the school's rather unfair transportation system, where higher-ranked students receive priority boarding and rides, while lower-ranked students like himself are forced to wait for extremely long periods of time. After finishing his long explanation, Finger falls asleep, and Mingfei, completely drained from the day's events, decides to rest as well. That is when the strangest dream he has experienced yet takes hold of him. Mingfei sees crowds of people running in panic with torches, jumping off cliffs and everything, around them falling into chaos. Then a small boy appears in the dream, identifying himself as Mingfei's brother. The boy delivers a serious warning about an approaching apocalypse that threatens the entire Earth, and then shifts to mocking Mingfei for remaining a decent person despite having lived such a miserable and powerless life for so long. Mingfei even attempts to offer the boy some money, but the child refuses it and calls him a fool for even trying. Just as Mingfei is emotionally at his lowest point within the dream, he wakes up to find a strange man ringing a bell inside the station. The man announces the arrival of the train, but the moment Mingfei introduces himself, the entire atmosphere shifts. The conductor completely loses his composure out of sheer excitement, overwhelmed at the realization that this is the long-awaited S-rank student everyone has been expecting. Finger is equally stunned, boasting loudly that Mingfei's rank is on the same level as the principal of the school. Mingfei feels as though the universe itself has been personally working against him. He finally swipes his card and the entire airport transforms around them. Lights begin to flash, a hidden passage reveals itself in the wall, and the secret Castle College subway line appears before their eyes. As they make their way down, Finger continues to enthusiastically celebrate Mingfei's status, insisting that this kind of grand experience is exactly what an S-rank student deserves. However, Mingfei's excitement quickly turns to unease when he notices strange, motionless figures lurking in the tunnels around them. Finger reassures him that these are simply performers hired to play background characters as part of the experience. Then the grand moment finally arrives. The train roars into the station and Professor Guderian himself leaps out of it like an overjoyed parent arriving at a school event. He pulls Mingfei into a warm embrace and announces proudly that everyone has been waiting for his arrival. Once on board the train, Mingfei is handed a set of confidential documents to sign, making his extraordinary new life at Castle College completely official. After eventually parting ways with Finger, Professor Guderian decides that the time has come to reveal something major. Castle College is not simply an elite academic institution in the conventional sense. It is a dragon-slaying academy, and their actual curriculum involves learning how to track, hunt, and survive encounters with creatures that belong in a fantasy story. Mingfei immediately concludes that the professor has lost his mind entirely. Mingfei slips into another vision. The strange boy from his earlier dream reappears, this time confirming that dragons are entirely real and laying out a detailed story rooted in ancient history. He explains that thousands of years ago, the very first dragon ancestor, Nidhogg, the Black Dragon Emperor, was defeated and killed upon his own throne. His body was so enormous that it could practically serve as a landmass, and it was left on a frozen mountain, marking the beginning of a completely new era for humanity. People celebrated their victory with tremendous joy, essentially throwing the greatest victory party in the history of the world. When Mingfei asks whether the boy himself has any connection to dragons, the child dismisses the question and denies it in a way that feels deliberately evasive. Back in the real world, another individual named Masashi Toyama arrives carrying physical evidence to support everything Guderian has been saying. They present Mingfei with an actual dragon scale and ask him to test just how durable it is. Mingfei remains unimpressed and unconvinced, so they bring out the most undeniable piece of evidence imaginable. a living baby dragon discovered back in 1796, sealed inside a glass container and completely dormant for centuries. Mingfei, still skeptical but genuinely curious, moves closer to take a better look, and the creature suddenly opens its eyes. The dragon begins thrashing violently inside the container as though trying to break free, and then collapses back into a dormant state. Mingfei is so startled that he nearly loses all composure on the spot. Professor Guderian offers his theory that Mingfei's bloodline is what provoked the reaction, meaning that Mingfei's very presence is enough to agitate dragons on a fundamental level. He also adds somewhat casually that it is fortunate they upgraded the containment unit the previous year, because otherwise Mingfei's arrival could have triggered a catastrophic event, affecting everyone around him. Eventually, the train reaches its destination, and Professor Guderian personally offers to give Mingfei a full tour of the grounds, officially welcoming him to Castle College for the very first time. Mingfei's jaw drops at the sheer size and magnificence of everything around him. The place looks far less like a school and far more like a king's fortress. As they walk through the grand hallways, Guderian explains something important. Mingfei notices that the place looks completely empty. He asks where all the students are. Guderian suddenly freezes in place and begins to panic. He tells Mingfei to get down immediately. Mingfei has walked straight into Liberty Day. This is the school's most chaotic annual tradition. It is a full-scale war game between two rival student groups. One side is the Lionheart Society, led by Chuju Hong. The other is the Student Union, led by Caesar Gattuso. Students begin jumping out of hiding spots carrying weapons. Guderian gets shot mid-sentence and drops to the ground. Mingfei is stuck right in the middle of it all. He watches in shock as the battle narrows down to just the two leaders and their snipers. Then things take a darker turn. Motong, who is serving as the Student Union sniper, takes a hit and goes down. Seeing her fall awakens something intense inside Mingfei. The mysterious dream boy whispers to him again, urging him to make everyone pay. Something shifts in Mingfei completely. He grabs a rifle, stands up, and fires a perfect shot at the enemy sniper. Then, without stopping, he takes down both Caesar and Chuju Hong one after the other. Everyone goes completely silent, stunned by his precision. Mingfei himself is horrified by what he has just done. Before he can spiral into panic, alarms go off across the field. Girls wearing Red Cross uniforms rush in carrying syringes. They inject every fallen student with an antidote, and the students wake up instantly. Mingfei stands there completely confused. Professor Manstein arrives shortly after, visibly irritated about the cost of all this destruction. Mingfei nearly faints when Guderian, who was shot earlier, suddenly sits up looking perfectly fine. Mingfei thinks he is seeing things, but Guderian calmly explains that the bullets are just sedatives mixed with fake blood. To prove it, the man shoots himself again and passes out right in front of everyone. Manstein is furious about the damage and threatens to report everything to the principal. When the call goes through, the principal reacts in the most unexpected way. He laughs the whole thing off. He tells the students to enjoy themselves, promises the school will cover all the damage, and even apologizes for not being there himself. The students cheer like it is a celebration. Mingfei genuinely wonders what kind of school he has just enrolled in. Then the biggest surprise of the day arrives. The principal asks to speak with Mingfei directly. He greets him warmly and jokes that it is not surprising at all. An S-rank student taking down two A-rank leaders on his very first day seems about right. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, the principal has a private conversation with a man named Muntz. They talk about a devastating incident from 8 years ago where an entire group of students was wiped out during a dragon battle. But they both agree that Lu Mingfei might be exactly the unpredictable talent they have been waiting for, while the senior figures plan an upcoming operation called the Hills Mission, which involves sending Yashang and Aki underwater to avoid disturbing a sleeping dragon. Mingfei settles into his dormitory, the same person who lives off other people's money and whose greatest skill seems to be failing classes. He shows off the various departments and then introduces the concept of Yanling. These are mysterious personal abilities that are unique to every individual. But before Mingfei can respond to any of this, chaos erupts nearby. A student loses control of their Yanling ability and accidentally summons a massive water creature. A teacher steps in and shuts it down quickly. But the sudden shock triggers yet another vision inside Mingfei. That is the World Tree, the exact location where the Black Dragon Emperor was defeated long ago. He pulls Mingfei away and brings him back to the dorm. There, he hands over Mingfei's official student ID. He also tells him about a mandatory exam called the 3E test. Fail it, and you get expelled immediately. Guderian tries to reassure him by saying his S-rank status means he should be fine. But the warning still feels very serious. To help him prepare, Guderian takes out an ancient music box. Inside it is a recording of the Black Dragon Emperor's actual roar. This particular roar is known as the Imperium Yanling. Any normal student would panic hearing it. Most would collapse or start screaming uncontrollably. Mingfei listens for about 5 seconds and then falls completely asleep. There is no reaction and no response at all. He simply naps like the recording is a bedtime tune. Finger sees this as a perfect opportunity. He immediately spreads the news across the entire school network. Within minutes, everyone knows what happened. Juhong and Caesar both hear about it too. The great S-Rank student has completely failed to respond to the Imperium. Mingfei spirals into serious panic about the upcoming 3E test. Finger offers to help him cheat because apparently academic fraud is the obvious solution here. Meanwhile, Professors Guderian and Monstein are in the library having their own quiet crisis. The research is pointing towards something alarming. Mingfei may not just be unusual, he might actually be descended from the White Dragon Emperor, a figure who once challenged Nidhogg directly and was completely defeated. That entire bloodline was believed to be long extinct. Yet here is Mingfei, sleeping peacefully through a Dragon Emperor's roar. Monstein wants to run experiments on him immediately, but Guderian refuses and says they will only report the situation if Mingfei actually fails his test. That same night, a mysterious figure quietly hacks into the school's AI system called Norma. They make sure Mingfei will pass, regardless of what happens during the exam. Test day finally arrives. Mingfei walks in gripping Finger's cheat notes tightly. The examiners hand out blank sheets and explain that a dragon recording will play and trigger visions in the students. Then they calmly walk out of the room like this is completely normal. Most students treat the whole thing casually, but Mingfei zones out and falls into another deep trance. The mysterious boy from his previous visions finally reveals his name. It is Lu Mingai, which is the same name as Mingfei's annoying cousin back home. He explains that the visions are coming directly from Mingfei's own heart. He then promises to carry some of Mingfei's burdens going forward, making the entire experience feel strangely emotional. When Mingfei wakes up, Motong is standing nearby. She tells him he slept through most of the exam. Fortunately, he had already written down his answers before drifting off. He did make one small mistake though, writing 9 instead of 8 in one answer. Motong looks at his paper and tells him it does not matter. He has passed the test. Back in the dorm, Finger congratulates him with exaggerated enthusiasm and welcomes him officially to college life. Then Finger casually adds that the class has been cancelled anyway. Monstein has left campus entirely to chase an ancient dragon somewhere far away. Far from Castle College, Professor Monstein is leading an underwater expedition into a sunken ancient city. Yashang and Aki are fully suited up and diving deep into the ruins below the surface. Down in the depths, Yashang uses his Void Snake Yanling ability to scout the area ahead of them. Everything seems calm at first. Then Monstein suddenly warns them that a magnitude 5 earthquake is about to strike. The tremors hit hard and immediately destroy their communication equipment, cutting them off completely from the surface. Yashang reacts quickly and uses his Void Snake ability again to restore contact with the team. Monstein surfaces and reports back to the principal with an important update. The ruins below may actually be an ancient Dragon King's palace. To enter it, they will need a very specific key. That key turns out to be a baby with pure dragon blood running through its veins. Yes, an actual infant. A mother arrives and hands her child over with a grave warning. This baby is their one and only chance to get inside. Monstein takes the child without any hesitation and dives straight back into the water. Standing before the Bronze City gates, he activates his Yanling ability. He uses the baby as a living passcode to unlock the enormous entrance. Once the gates open, he gives Yashang and Aki their individual instructions. He then returns to the ship and leaves the two of them to explore while Norma scans the submerged city from above. Yashang quickly notices that the oxygen levels inside are dangerously low. Monstein immediately tells them to be careful. With every single breath they take, deeper inside the ruins, they discover a chamber containing a massive bronze pillar. Yashang turns to Aki and tells her something serious. If things take a turn for the worse, she needs to save herself and leave him behind. Meanwhile, Aki is assigned a separate task. She is sent to photograph the statues throughout the ruins for the ship's records. Things take a sudden bad turn when Aki's heart rate spikes and she begins losing consciousness. Yashang rushes back to her side immediately. He tells her he has found a heavy and significant artifact somewhere deeper inside. He also mentions spotting what appears to be a sleeping baby dragon nearby. Before they can process any of this, things get much worse. One of the statues begins actively moving toward Aki in a threatening way. Yashang fires at it to stop it. But that shot, combined with Aki having touched the statue earlier, triggers the entire city's security system. The ruins begin shifting and rearranging themselves into a dangerous moving maze. The baby dragon senses the intruders and the whole city goes into full lockdown. Yashang and Aki barely make it through the collapsing passages as they desperately try to find their way back to the ship. Across at Castle College, alarms begin blaring across the entire campus. Every student ranked A and above is immediately summoned to respond. Mingfei, right on cue, slips into yet another vision. The mysterious boy appears once again. He warns Mingfei about danger and death that are coming very soon, but he also gives him something useful. He hands over a special code for unlocking maps, almost like a secret shortcut to solving the problem ahead. Finger snaps Mingfei back to reality. But Motong is right there to inform Finger that his F-rank status means he is not welcome at this particular meeting. Finger quietly walks away looking thoroughly rejected. Inside the main hall, the professors lay out the full emergency to the gathered students. Yashang and Aki are trapped deep inside the ruins with their oxygen supply running out fast. The students are needed to help decode ancient dragon text in order to locate a safe exit route and save them. The task sounds straightforward enough until Caesar points out a serious problem. Decoding dragon text under normal circumstances takes roughly 15 years of study. They have about 20 minutes. The professors push forward anyway and assign the work to the students regardless. Taking his seat with no real idea of where to begin, Mingfei feels completely lost. Then Norma quietly steps in and reconfigures his computer screen into a familiar gaming-style interface. He remembers the code that the mysterious boy gave him during the vision. He types it in, and the entire map breaks open instantly. While every other talented student around him struggles and strains over the ancient translations, Mingfei solves the whole thing within seconds. The decoded map is sent directly to Yashang and Aki to guide them towards safety. Down in the ruins, Yashang suggests letting the baby dragon look at the map. The little creature immediately points out their only way out. The escape route goes straight down through the very base of the city. With only 3 minutes of oxygen remaining, Yashang tells Aki to stop wasting her breath. She tries to confess her feelings to him in that moment. He stops her with a kiss and a firm promise that they will both survive. Up on the surface, Professor Manstein suddenly realizes a critical mistake has been made. They only calculated enough oxygen for escaping the ruins. Nobody accounted for the time needed to resurface. He immediately orders the lifeboats deployed and commands the ship to descend for pickup. Back at Castle College, every student sits in tense silence waiting for any kind of update. His online friend calls him during this time and encourages him to stay positive no matter what happens. Out at sea, things on Professor Manstein's ship are getting very bad very fast. She is clutching the artifact tightly in her arms. She reveals in a breathless panic that Yashang sacrificed himself to get her out safely. A dark creature launches out of the water without any warning, grabs Aki, and drags her back under. It turns and charges directly toward the ship. Manstein raises his rifle and opens fire without hesitation. The crew escalates and fires missiles at the creature. The dragon simply swallows them whole without slowing down. A crew member cries out in panic, pointing out that the warheads are still active inside the creature's stomach. For one brief moment, everyone believes they have won. The dragon resurfaces, and it is angrier than before. It drives straight through one of Manstein's crew members and pulls her beneath the waves before anyone can react. Manstein listens and translates for the terrified crew. The dragon is mocking them and calling them completely helpless. To add to the humiliation, Manstein explains that detonating the missiles, Manstein orders the ship to head toward it at full speed. They race toward the dam with the dragon right behind them. The plan works just long enough. One of the creature's enormous teeth flies through the air at high speed and drives straight through Manstein. He dies instantly in the most sudden and cruel way imaginable. He announces that the operation was a success and thanks everyone involved. He gives specific recognition to Mingfei for decoding the map and making the rescue possible. Else in the world right now. On the way back to the dorm, Chu Hong approaches him. He is calm and composed as he extends a personal invitation for Mingfei to join the Lionheart Society as his chosen successor. Their conversation is interrupted by the sound of tolling bells and the sight of white doves being released across the campus. In his final moments, Manstein had refused all medical treatment. He told the principal it was pointless to try. He asked that the students be told he had simply left on a new mission rather than being told the truth. He also asked the principal to find Motong a proper mentor to guide her going. Mingfei receives an email invitation to Caesar's dance party. Curious about who Caesar actually is, he asks Finger to fill him in. Finger explains everything. Caesar is essentially the prize son of an extraordinarily wealthy and powerful family. The weight of expectation on him is enough to break most people. Mingfei immediately wants to skip the event. He complains about having no suit and no idea how to dance. Finger refuses to let him back out. His solution is simple and slightly embarrassing. They will borrow outfits from the school's drama club. At the ball, the difference is immediately striking. Caesar's event is pure and refined elegance. Rose petals cover the floor and candlelight fills the entire room. Caesar personally walks over to greet Motong like a gentleman from a classic story. He then announces to everyone present that the ball is being held in honor of her birthday. The whole room lines up to offer her their wishes one by one. Across the room, Mingfei and Finger stand around with no dates and nothing to do. They look completely out of place. Finger manages to fit in reasonably well on the dance floor. Mingfei, however, turns his section of the floor into something closer to a disaster zone. He stumbles constantly and cannot seem to control his own feet at all. Motong notices this and quietly pulls Caesar aside. She asks him not to push Mingfei too hard, worried it might drive him toward the Lionheart Society instead. Caesar simply smirks and says he has his own way of handling things. In the middle of the dancing, Caesar suddenly silences the entire hall. He delivers a confident speech about loyalty and greatness that gets the whole crowd chanting his name. Then, with perfect timing, he turns the attention directly onto Mingfei. He publicly invites him to join the student union right there in front of everyone. Mingfei tries to stall and asks for more time to think. Caesar responds by encouraging him to request a song and take the dance floor instead. At that moment, the blonde violinist from the 3E test steps forward. She sets her violin down calmly and extends her hand toward Mingfei. She leads him onto the floor without making a big deal out of it. Under her quiet and patient guidance, Mingfei actually begins to move properly for the first time. He finds a rhythm and stops looking completely lost. It is the first time someone has looked at him without any trace of disappointment or amusement. The girl then introduces herself to him as Zero. The crowd watches the transformation and actually begins to applaud. For once, Mingfei experiences something that feels close to real dignity. Feeling overwhelmed by the attention, he slips outside quietly to get some fresh air. Motong spots him almost immediately and waves him over. He walks up to her and wishes her a calm and genuine. She says she is feeling tired from all the attention. Then she casually asks him to drive her up to the top of the nearby mountain. Back inside the ball, the elegant atmosphere is suddenly shattered. Norma delivers an urgent alert that stops everything. The school is under attack. 13 outsiders have successfully entered the campus. Their target is the Dragon Vase being stored inside the Alfheim Institute. With no other real option available, they are forced to send the students in to deal with the threat directly. Up on the mountaintop, Mingfei and Motong sit quietly beside a pond together. The mood between them becomes heavy and serious. Mingfei offers his condolences for Yashang and Aki. Motong admits she has come to accept their deaths. Then she reveals something she has been keeping to herself. Professor Manstein is gone too. The story about him being away on a mission was just a cover story told to keep the students calm. She explains that he had actually warned her beforehand that this would be the signal of his death. She then reflects quietly on her own life. She says that if she ever dies, she wants people to be told she left for a mission in Iceland. That way, everyone can simply move on without grief. She then shares an old legend about fireflies that guide souls up waterfalls and lead them home. Mingfei sits beside her in silence, likely not fully grasping the weight of everything she is saying. Back inside the school, the 13th intruder breaks away from the group and goes off alone. He slips through a chimney and enters an abandoned wine cellar deep inside the building. Using a special master key card, he unlocks a hidden door and continues forward. At the same time, Caesar prepares for his confrontation at Valhalla. He activates his Kamitachi Yanling and immediately detects invisible enemies moving nearby. True to his personality, he radios Chu Shihong and turns it into a competition. He challenges him to see who can defeat their enemies first. Chu Shihong takes the situation far more seriously and dismisses the idea entirely. Norma issues an urgent order to evacuate the library where Zihong is stationed. His assistant is forced to leave, and he ends up completely alone. At Valhalla, the intruders lose their cover when their leader's phone rings at the worst possible moment. She steps forward and reveals herself as Sakatku Mai, the younger sister of Aki. Caesar offers his condolences for her loss. She rejects them coldly and makes clear she has no interest in her sister's choices. She then begins a dramatic musical countdown as though preparing for a performance. Caesar does not play along. Before the music even finishes, he defeats her entire squad swiftly and cleanly. Mai then reveals that none of this was ever the real plan. She was only ever meant to be a distraction. The true threat is a quiet and expressionless girl who has been sent directly to face Chu Shihong in the library. Their actual mission is to take down the school's two most powerful fighters at the same time. In the library, Chu Shihong comes face to face with this so-called deadpan girl. The professors watching the confrontation grow tense immediately. They notice she is carrying no weapons at all. That kind of confidence usually means one of two things. Either she is not a threat or she is so powerful she simply does not need weapons. Professor Guderian reminds the others that Zihong's Yanling ability is classified at the highest level. When Zihong finally activates it, the entire area explodes into a massive wall of fire. His ability is called Royal Blaze, and it is extraordinarily powerful. It becomes instantly clear why the students were evacuated beforehand. But the real shock comes next. The deadpan girl does not react with fear at all. She activates the exact same Royal Blaze ability right back at him. Zihong is no longer facing a weak opponent. He is facing someone with the exact same devastating power as himself. Meanwhile, the 13th intruder deep in the tunnels stumbles across one of Norma's AI personalities named Eva. She calmly informs him that the underwater route he is using has not been accessed in 35 years. Since he carries a valid clearance card, she cannot stop him from continuing. Rather than feeling any concern, the intruder is actually thrilled when his employer increases his payment to 5 million. His celebration is short-lived though. He slips and falls into a reservoir, losing his phone in the process. He never receives his final set of instructions. Despite this, something draws him forward. A faint voice whispers the word brother through the water and he keeps moving toward it. Up on the mountain, Motong turns to Mingfei and apologizes for Caesar's behavior at the party. She explains that he was simply trying to push Mingfei toward meeting the expectations that come with being an S-rank student. Motong surprisingly reveals that it was actually her who invited him to the dance, not Caesar. She teases him lightly about dancing with Zero, and then, without any warning, asks him to join the student union. Sensing that he might feel like he is just being used as Caesar's political tool, Motong is honest with him. She tells him she genuinely wants to look after him the way an older sister would care for a younger brother. She also reveals that her engagement to Caesar is not a real relationship at all. It is simply a political arrangement made between their two families. Mingfei asks her why she did not step in to help him during his embarrassing first attempt at dancing. She admits that Caesar stopped her from doing so. She then lightens the mood by joking that if he truly wants to protect her, he should start by buying her gifts. Their conversation shifts into something quieter and more emotional when she mentions that she receives a mysterious birthday gift every single year without knowing who sends it. Mingfei suddenly remembers the cheat code Mingai gave him. He quietly murmurs the words out loud, "Show me the flowers." The car stereo switches on by itself and fireworks burst across the sky above them. They spell out a message, "Happy birthday, Motong." She breaks down completely and begins to cry. She confesses that those gifts have always come from her late mother. Mingfei makes her a quiet but sincere promise. He tells her he will be her little brother for as long as they live. She pulls him into a tight hug and swears to always protect him in return. For once, Mingfei has actually done something genuinely meaningful. Deep underground, the 13th intruder is being carried along by the water currents moving through the tunnels. He eventually stumbles into an underwater research institute. Inside, a group of researchers has gathered around the dragon vase. It is being preserved under liquid nitrogen and is guarded with extreme care. The principal is present and firmly warns everyone against attempting to open or examine it. He explains that Professor Monstein had already disturbed it once by experimenting with mercury. If the Dragon King Norton were to wake up inside, the consequences would be catastrophic for everyone. MRI scans of the vase reveal 2 embryo-shaped cavities inside it. Strangely, one of them is completely empty. When one of the researchers pushes to have it cut open anyway, the principal loses his patience entirely. He pulls out a knife to make his point and forces everyone to evacuate the room immediately. The 13th intruder slips inside once the room is empty. He reaches for the vase and tries to take it. The moment he touches it, he begins experiencing intense hallucinations. A woman's voice repeats the word brother over and over directly into his mind. Deeply unsettled, he abandons the attempt and leaves the room in a hurry. Without realizing it, he drops a small bottle from his pocket on the way out. He has no idea that bottle contained his final instructions. He was supposed to pour the liquid inside over the vase and extract whatever was within it. Almost immediately after he leaves, a hooded figure enters the room. The stranger picks up the bottle calmly, pours the solution directly over the vase, and then adds his own blood to it. A burst of intense energy tears through the chamber. The hooded figure declares that his blood and the dragon now belong to Nidhogg. At the church, Caesar's confrontation with Sakatkumai is intensifying. He takes a calm and arrogant approach and offers her a direct challenge. If she can land 3 hits on him, she wins the fight. Her first attempt fails completely against his Kamatachi defense. Her second attempt involves using a hairpin to create a physical clone of herself. Caesar destroys it instantly. Her third attempt is more creative and complex than the previous 2. Caesar tears through that one as well. Frustrated and running out of options, Mai breaks the rules of the challenge and pulls out a gun. Before she can fire it, a faint whisper from somewhere distant triggers a sudden explosion inside the church. The entire fight dissolves into chaos. Caesar declares it a tie with his usual confidence. Mai disagrees furiously and makes that very clear. Outside at the scene, everyone stares at melted footprints burned into the floor and a hole that has been seared clean through the wall. Mai examines it and points out that the temperature required to cause that kind of damage is equivalent to the surface of the sun. For the first time, Caesar looks genuinely unsettled. His Kamatachi ability detected absolutely nothing, even though he clearly heard an elevator moving somewhere beneath them in the basement. He works through the implication slowly and arrives at a deeply uncomfortable conclusion. His power could not sense the intruder because whatever was down there had no heartbeat. They were never dealing with a human being at all. Up on the mountain road, Mingfei notices the car starting up on its own and becomes very alarmed by "Sao as I it." Motong dismisses his concern without much interest and suggests they head back to the college as quickly as possible. On the way back, Motong checks Caesar's voicemail and the invasion alert plays out loud. Mingfei is immediately filled with dread. But Motong stays completely calm and tells him not to worry. Caesar and Shi Hong will take care of it. Back at school, however, the situation is barely under control. The professors watch the clash between Zi Hong and the deadpan girl like they are witnessing something they cannot fully understand. The two appear evenly matched in strength. But one professor notices something deeply unsettling. The masked girl has far better control over her abilities. She is not even trying to win the fight. She is simply buying time. Meanwhile, the 13th intruder attempts to escape the campus on a bicycle. Professor Guderian orders the guards to open fire immediately. Somehow this person manages to dodge every single shot. Then fate steps in. Mingfei's car crashes directly into him. When the intruder pulls out a knife and prepares to use it, both of them freeze at the same moment. They recognize each other instantly. The intruder is not a stranger at all. It is Old Tang, someone Mingfei knows personally. The two quickly come up with a plan. They pretend Tang is holding Mingfei hostage so Tang can slip away. But the plan falls apart immediately when a mysterious boy drops directly onto the roof of their car. He is surrounded by flames and carries a glowing shield in his hand. He calls out the word brother the moment he lands. This does not feel like any ordinary encounter. Mingfei hits the accelerator and drives away fast, but not before catching a glimpse of the boy's fiery reflection in the rearview mirror. The professors immediately begin issuing orders to keep the boy at a safe distance. Bullets melt the moment they make contact with him. Grenades have absolutely no effect. All the attacks do is make him angrier. The child then unleashes the Royal Blaze ability and releases an explosion of enormous scale. It cuts straight through the middle of Zi Hong and the deadpan girl's duel and forces them both to stop fighting. They look at the burning child and both immediately understand that he is the far greater threat in this situation. The deadpan girl admits to Zi Hong that the child was released by accident. Surprisingly, Zi Hong chooses to trust her. In desperation, Professor Manstein contacts his father and asks him to restore the school's barrier. His father delivers a hard and immediate truth in response. The barrier would be completely useless against this particular threat. The child is not an ordinary intruder. He is one of the first-generation dragons, specifically the Dragon King of Bronze and Fire. Mai reports the Dragon Boy's appearance to her employer over the phone. Her employer is visibly shaken just hearing the description. An energy shield, a body like a burning furnace, and completely untouchable. After reviewing the footage, the employer confirms that the boy is not Norton as they had feared. He is Norton's brother, Constantine. Even worse, nobody has any idea how he managed to get out. Constantine wanders through the campus alone, calling out for his brother in a way that feels both frightening and deeply sad. Mingfei, Motong, and Old Tang press themselves behind pillars and quietly debate their chances of survival. Tang is asked what he does for work and admits he is a hunter. Motong clarifies that his organization pursues ancient and powerful artifacts, not animals. Tang then confesses how he ended up here. He found the job online and accepted it without knowing the full picture. He had no idea he was being sent to steal from Mingfei's own school. When they look at a photo of the cracked vase, everything clicks into place. Constantine had crawled out from inside it. Their hiding spot does not last. Finger stumbles upon them, lets out a loud scream, and immediately draws attention to all of them. Constantine turns in their direction and the entire group runs. Caesar and Mai intercept them mid-escape. Caesar's only real concern is Motong's safety. He orders her to go and stay hidden at the swimming pool. She refuses at first but eventually gives in. Mai has no intention of running anywhere. She makes clear she will stand and protect her team. At that moment, her employer calls with the first useful information of the entire night. Frigo bullets made without metal can actually push Constantine back, even if they cannot fully stop him. Caesar and Mai load up immediately and pass the information along to the professors. When the shots finally connect, Constantine is pushed back and stumbles. The guards and students all begin firing together in a coordinated effort. For a brief and completely baffling moment, Mingfei, Old Tang, and Finger seem to forget that a dragon child is actively hunting them across campus. They end up messing around near the swimming pool instead. Their distraction ends the instant they hear footsteps approaching. All three dive underwater to hide. The moment Mingfei goes under, a vision takes hold of him. The water around him turns a deep shade of red. Steam rises from the surface like something is burning beneath it. He pulls himself onto the shore expecting another hallucination. Instead, Constantine is standing right in front of him. Mingfei feels a strange and unexplainable sense of familiarity when he looks at Constantine. It is as though he has encountered this burning child somewhere before. Constantine leans in and sniffs him like a confused animal, radiating an intense heat that fills the entire space around them. Then the world around Mingfei suddenly changes completely. Ancient pyramids appear and fire surrounds everything. He understands immediately where he is. This is the Bronze City, and Constantine standing before him is the very same creature tearing it through his school right now. Just as Constantine moves closer, Mingzi appears from nowhere, kicks him directly in the face, and tells him to back off. Mingfei wakes up sharply beside the pool, completely alone and deeply disoriented. Then the principal appears without any warning. He takes Mingfei by the arm and brings him up to the Overwatch Tower. He lays everything out clearly and calmly. Constantine is cornered, but stopping a Dragon King is not a simple task by any measure. The principal hands Mingfei a rare alchemic bullet. It is the only thing in existence capable of finishing Constantine off. He then reveals his own Yanling ability called Time Zero. This power allows him to slow down time itself. It will give Mingfei a precise window to aim directly at the dragon's exposed rolling eye. Before leaving, the principal gives him a short but serious piece of encouragement. He tells him clearly not to miss. Elsewhere on campus, Old Tang is visibly on edge. Finger confronts him about nearly abandoning the group back at the pool. Tang then admits something that unsettles everyone. He also heard Constantine calling out the word brother. Before anyone can make sense of that, Constantine stops holding back entirely and transforms into his full dragon form. The principal steps forward and thanks the students sincerely for everything they have done. Then he takes over personally. He activates Time Zero and shatters Constantine's protective shield in one move, exposing the exact weak point Mingfei needs to hit. All Mingfei has to do now is pull the trigger. He freezes completely and cannot move. Then Mingai appears quietly behind him and steadies his aim with a calm and steady presence. Together, they take the shot. The principal immediately orders everyone around them to fire everything they have. But then something completely unexpected happens. Constantine does not fight back at all. Instead, the dragon moves to shield Old Tang from the incoming fire. With its very last breath, Constantine whispers the word brother one final time and then goes still. Tang is completely overwhelmed. He turns and runs without saying a word, but then memories begin flooding back into him all at once. He remembers Constantine clearly. He remembers the promise they made to protect each other no matter what. He remembers the dream they once shared of standing at the top of the world together. The full truth hits him like a physical blow. He is not simply Old Tang. He is Constantine's twin brother and the Dragon King Norton. Grief and fury rise up inside him at the same time, and his true form bursts out in a blazing transformation. Later, the principal and Monstein's father sit together and quietly discuss the consequences of everything that happened. The principal is asked directly why he did not simply eliminate Norton the moment he had the chance. His answer is delivered without any emotion. Dragons cannot actually be killed in any permanent sense. They can only be sealed away. Even a single surviving piece of a dragon's body is enough to bring it back completely. This is the very reason humans throughout history have always depended on sealing methods rather than destruction. The principal then reveals that his own mixed bloodline has kept him alive and active for well over a century. but he is aware he needs someone to carry on after him. His true mission is the complete elimination of dragons, not just the 4 kings, but Nidhogg himself. Norton's current state of blind and uncontrolled rage is simply another piece he intends to use in that larger plan, regardless of how many people get caught in the middle of it. The following day, Mingfei and Finger are still quietly processing everything they survived the night before. Finger fills him in on what comes next. The school executives are on their way back, security across the campus is being upgraded significantly, and Finger also shares some background history about the student groups and their origins. When Mingfei is asked which society he chose to join, he admits honestly that he joined the student union because of Motong. Finger reveals with a satisfied expression that he is already a member himself. Their conversation is interrupted when a grumpy older man shows up at the door and delivers Mingfei's official student union ID card. It turns out Motong had already placed her confidence in him joining long before he made the decision himself. He is then informed that Caesar wants to meet with him within the hour. At the same time, Caesar is having his own private meeting with the principal. The principal commends him for his performance during the attack and then immediately moves on to what comes next. The following mission is an expedition into the Bronze City itself. The principal makes a specific and direct request. He wants Mingfei involved. He explains that Mingfei's potential is far too significant to leave on the sidelines. Caesar accepts without argument and is instructed to bring Mingfei along, as his presence will prove to be genuinely valuable to the mission. Mingfei is brought into Caesar's office shortly after. He nearly loses his composure when he hears how low the survival chances actually are. He immediately starts trying to find any reason to get out of going. Caesar refuses to entertain a single excuse. He explains that being selected for this mission is a significant honor. Only 2 first-year students, Mingfei and Zero, were chosen for it. Zero has already agreed without hesitation. Caesar grows visibly irritated at Mingfei's reluctance and even threatens to take away his student union Wardi if he keeps refusing. That is when Motong steps in and promises to stay close and look after him throughout the entire mission. With no way out left, Mingfei agrees. Caesar closes the meeting by informing them they have 2 months to get Mingfei ready for the most important mission of his life. Those 2 months turn out to be absolute suffering for Mingfei. He goes from someone who barely moved to someone being pushed through intense physical training every single day. Diving lessons, martial arts, endurance drills, close combat training, stamina exercises, and shooting practice all get forced into his daily routine. By the time mission day finally arrives, Mingfei is not stronger or braver in any meaningful way. He is simply terrified and sweating through his gear before they even begin. Finger attempts to encourage him but ends up sharing gossip instead. He reveals that couples are not permitted to dive together as a pair. This is exactly why Yashang and Aki had kept their relationship a secret so they could sneak in as partners. The information hits Mingfei in a specific way. It means Caesar and Motong will not be able to dive together this time around. He finally stops pretending and admits out loud that he is genuinely scared. He is not sure he is going to come back from this alive. In what he treats as a final gesture, he hands Finger his credit card and tells him to enjoy whatever is left in the account if he does not make it back. Finger does not hesitate for even a second. He immediately begins spending freely like there is no limit at all. Mingfei watches the balance drop in real time and nearly passes out from the shock. But then Finger hands the card back to him and says simply that he is going to make it back alive. That small and unexpected moment of sincerity gives Mingfei just enough courage to keep moving forward. At the same time, Norton is not sitting still either. He summons one of his servant dragons and begins preparing for what is coming. The mission officially called Operation Bronze gets underway. Mingfei, Motong, Caesar, and Zero all board the ship together. Professor Manstein greets them with an energetic briefing and walks them through their available equipment with obvious pride. They have torpedoes, reinforced defensive systems, and a brand new dragon-killing missile ready to use. Their objective is straightforward: get inside the Bronze City and destroy it completely before Norton has the chance to cocoon himself within it. Mingfei, being genuinely curious in his usual way, asks why they cannot simply study the city instead of destroying it. Manstein explains it to him as plainly as possible. They do not have the technology required to lift an entire underwater city to the surface. Destroying it is the only realistic option available to them. Then the diving assignments are announced. Caesar will go down with Zero, while Motong will be paired with Mingfei. But then Zero suddenly announces that she is unable to dive due to her period. Mingfei tries to suggest it should not be an issue, but Zero does not change her position. The responsibility of going down with Motong falls entirely on Mingfei, which does not make him feel any better about the situation. Motong calmly explains how the diving suits work and tells him about the consciousness line, a cable system designed to pull a diver back up automatically if they lose consciousness. Mingfei immediately begins worrying about the possibility of encountering a dragon down there. Manstein reassures him that all dragons are currently in hibernation. Norton in particular still needs to complete his cocooning process before he can regain his full strength. The chances of running into one are extremely low. With everything in place, Mingfei and Motong descend into the water together. They reach the enormous ancient gate at the entrance to the city. Following the instructions he was given, Mingfei presses his hand to the gate and lets his blood enter the designated slot. Instead of opening smoothly, the gate clamps down on his hand and bites him. His panicked cries echo through the water until the gate finally releases its grip. Motong swims over to him without any sense of urgency, looks at the small wound, and tells him he is overreacting. Mingfei examines his hand and sees it is barely more than a minor cut. He wraps it up carefully anyway. The gate groans and swings open, and a powerful current pulls them both forcefully into the Bronze City. Motong briefly loses consciousness during the pull, but wakes up to find Mingfei right beside her in a strange corridor. Her first move is to ask Norma to check the air quality around them. The AI confirms that the air inside is breathable. To avoid wasting their limited oxygen supply, she tells Mingfei to remove his breathing equipment. They check in with Manstein on the surface and report their findings. He confirms that what they are seeing matches what the team had suspected about the city's interior. Norton's return has reactivated all of the city's internal systems. When Motong asks where exactly to place the explosives, Manstein directs them toward the Dragon King's palace deep within the city. To help them navigate through the maze of corridors, he instructs Mingfei to release a special die into the water and simply follow wherever the current carries it. As they trail the die deeper into the Bronze City, Mingfei's fear becomes very obvious. Every time they pass one of the unsettling statues lining the corridors, he mutters about how frightening it looks. Motong loses patience with him quickly and calls him a coward without softening it at all. To take his mind off his fear, she shares the history behind those statues. Long ago, a tribe entered the city carrying offerings for the Dragon King. They brought crops, livestock, and even a young woman, all in hopes of drawing Norton out. Norton never appeared. Their sacrifices meant nothing, and their bloodlines came to a miserable end. The die eventually stops moving near the same enormous pillar that Yashong and Aki had reached during their own expedition. Mingfei, eager to finish the mission and leave, suggests they simply attach the bomb to the pillar right there and head back. Modongi shuts the idea down immediately. Her instincts tell her clearly that this is not the true palace. Before Mingfei can push back, she tricks him into putting his oxygen mask back on and then pushes him straight into the water without any warning. When Manstein checks in for an update, Motong tells him visibility is too poor to report anything useful. Shortly after, the two of them get pulled by the current into a completely different part of the city. This section is filled with the skeletal remains of warriors who once tried to challenge Norton and failed completely. Motong wastes no time. She grabs Mingfei's injured hand and uses the blood still on it to unlock a hidden gate beneath their feet. The gate opens, but the moment they pass through it, they lose all contact with the ship above and their consciousness line goes with it. Mingfei panics immediately. Motong stays completely steady and reminds him calmly that they can re-establish the connection later. They press forward and come across a worn-down and shabby old house. Motong falls into a trance the moment she steps inside. When she comes back to herself, she reveals what she experienced. This house is not just any structure. It is the original home of Norton and Constantine, still carrying the weight of their shared memories within its walls. Mingfei listens quietly and is genuinely moved by it. Motong then tells him something she has kept to herself since he first arrived at the college. She had profiled him when he joined and expected him to give up and leave within a few days. She admits that her protectiveness toward him has partly come from guilt over that early judgment. Motong sets the bomb timer for 45 minutes. But any sense of relief disappears instantly when they both notice a lamp nearby that has just been lit. Someone has been here recently. Norton is the most likely answer. They move quickly to leave, only to discover that their consciousness line has been taken. The city begins, collapsing around them at the same time. They run back toward their entry point and reach another gate blocking their path. Before dealing with it, they share a rare and honest moment with each other. Mingfei admits that he never wrote a farewell note before coming down here. He was simply certain he would make it back alive. Motong is more vulnerable than he has ever seen her. She admits she did not write one either, but for a very different reason. She did not think anyone would truly care if she did not come back. Mingfei brings up Caesar, suggesting he would care deeply. Motong dismisses this coldly and says he would move on without much difficulty. With nothing more to say, Mingfei cuts his hand open and uses his blood to activate the gate. Up on the ship, Monstein reaches a grim conclusion. He tells the others that Mingfei and Motong are most likely gone. Caesar reacts sharply and demands that someone go down immediately to find them. Monstein reminds him firmly that their mission is not about recovering individuals. It is about stopping a Dragon King. That is the only priority. Underground, the situation reaches its lowest point. Mingfei and Motong arrive at a complete dead end with no visible way forward. Motong quietly admits that only something extraordinary could get them out of this now. Just as Mingfei is on the verge of completely falling apart, he remembers the cheat code that Lu Mingai gave him. He activates it in desperation. To his complete shock, Lu Mingai's voice responds and expresses genuine relief at hearing from him. Then, unexpectedly, Finger's voice also enters his mind. Mingfei barely holds himself together and urgently begs Finger to pull up the Bronze City map and guide them out. But sending that desperate call upward triggers an immediate wave of chaos on the ship above. Up on the ship, Professor Manstein suddenly grabs his head and cries out in pain. Everyone around him quickly realizes what is happening. His brain is being used as the signal relay for Mingai's makeshift communication system. Every second counts now because Finger is struggling to navigate the Bronze City map with his limited access rank. Everything is moving painfully slowly. Caesar is barely keeping himself from losing his temper completely as Manstein suffers from the strain of being used as a living signal tower. Then Finger remembers he has something that can help. Eva, one of Norma's AI personalities, connects to his system and promises to bring Mingfei home safely. With full unrestricted access now available, Finger tears through the map at full speed and plots a clear escape route for Mingfei and Nano. But above the water, things are deteriorating fast. Zero announces that the water temperature has suddenly jumped to 50 degrees. This is a sign of dragon activity interfering with the environment. Monstein is completely out of commission, barely conscious from the psychic strain. Zero quietly nudges Caesar into taking command. Caesar steps up without hesitation and begins directing the Student Union crew with sharp and confident orders. The brief moment of control does not last. The lower deck shakes violently as something enormous slams into the ship and destroys the torpedo bay entirely. Everyone assumes it is Norton, but the sonar picks up nothing at all. Zero looks through her scope and sees something that stops her cold. It is not Norton. It is his loyal servant dragon, Samson, and he is hunting the ship aggressively. The vessel barely stays in one piece as Samson tears through the water around them. Then without any warning, Samson breaks off the attack. Norton has appeared on a distant hill. The entire crew goes completely still. Norton leaps into the water and comes face to face with his own servant. Everyone expects some kind of reunion between them. Instead, Norton calmly expresses his gratitude to Samson and then kills him without any hesitation. Zero stares through her scope in disbelief. The reason becomes clear almost immediately. The water erupts in a massive release of energy. Something new and terrible emerges from it. Norton has merged with Samson's body entirely. This grotesque fusion allows him to bypass the cocooning transformation process completely. He has just accelerated his own evolution in the most brutal way possible. Zero watches through her lens and understands the full weight of what just happened. Norton is now more powerful and they have far less time than before. The orders that come in are clear and absolute. Norton must be stopped at any cost. But above everything else, Lu Mingfei's survival remains the top priority. Down in the flooded city, Motong and Mingfei are running hard through the corridors as Finger's directions guide them toward the exit. Their momentum breaks when they stumble across Yashang's body. He is still holding a book that was meant to be delivered to the ship. He had given up his own oxygen mask to keep Aki alive. Mingfei wants to keep moving immediately, but Nano stops him. She takes a quiet moment to say goodbye to Yashang before pulling Mingfei forward again. The path ahead seems to stretch on endlessly and Mingfei's nerves finally give out completely. He admits to Nano that he genuinely does not believe he is going to make it out alive. Nano herself begins to doubt whether Finger's calculations are even correct. Fear settles over both of them. Then something shifts inside Mingfei's mind. He comes face to face with a harder and more honest version of himself, deep within his own thoughts. This inner version does not comfort him at all. It tells him directly that he is pathetic for always waiting for others to pull him out of danger. It tells him plainly to either stand up for himself or accept that he will die without ever really trying. The brutal confrontation with himself lights something up inside him. For the first time, he straightens up and refuses to fall apart. At the exit gate, the final obstacle stands in their way. The door requires dragon blood to open. Mingfei tries to cut his own hand with a knife and cannot manage it. A massive stone slab begins lowering from above and will crush them both if they do not move. Motong strains with everything she has to hold it back. She screams at him to hurry. Mingfei finally abandons the knife entirely, pulls off his gas mask, and bites down hard on his own finger. His blood reaches the mechanism. The gate bursts open and the rush of water pulls them both through. Mingfei loses consciousness the moment they are out. On the ship, even in his barely conscious state, Manstein manages to murmur a final warning. Mingfei and Nano are running out of oxygen. Caesar sets the warning aside and keeps his focus on keeping the ship moving as Norton's fused form closes in on them. With no time to spare, the crew drops a rescue bell into the ocean and hopes desperately that Mingfei and Motong can reach it before Norton reaches any of them. Underwater, Mingfei is barely holding on. His unconscious mind fills with visions of everyone he knows telling him he is useless and will never be enough. Just as he seems ready to give up entirely, Motong delivers a hard slap across his face and pulls him back. He wakes up to a very difficult reality. He had torn off his mask earlier to bite his finger and lost his entire oxygen supply in the process. Now they are forced to share what little remains in her half-empty tank. The situation is as bad as it can get. Then something unexpected arrives. A helicopter appears overhead and Chu Hong's voice comes over the radio announcing that backup is on the way. Caesar's crew feels a wave of relief. Mingfei nearly breaks down in tears. In a completely selfless move, Motong removes her own diving suit and forces it onto Mingfei. She tells him she can manage with her natural diving ability alone. Mingfei does not know whether to thank her or beg her to reconsider before he can say anything at all. Explosions erupt in the water around them and release clouds of poison gas. The mission has just gone from dangerous to catastrophic. Up above, Caesar and his team are fighting with everything they have against Norton. Episode 14, Caesar's expression darkens the moment he hears that Chu Hong has offered to help take down the dragon. Zero immediately points out that extra support is better than nothing. Caesar disagrees. Chu Hong's Royal Blaze ability is essentially useless against Norton's level of power. Then the pilot delivers more bad news. The engines are failing and the ship can no longer fly. Their only remaining hope is the watertight compartments keeping the vessel above water. Caesar refuses to give up. He finds out they still have torpedoes and forms a plan that is extremely dangerous. They need to get within 100 meters of Norton, far closer than anyone is comfortable with. But at that range, the torpedo would strike with enough force to actually hurt him. Caesar decides to personally distract Norton while Zero lines up and fires the shot. Zero warns him that the sound of the torpedo launching will be devastating to his heightened senses. His eardrums will not survive it. Caesar simply smirks, pulls a blindfold over his eyes, and shifts his focus entirely to sound. The fight begins. Caesar opens fire on Norton with his rifle. Every shot gets brushed aside effortlessly. But that is exactly the point. The goal is to make Norton angry enough to stop thinking clearly. It works. Norton's full attention locks onto Caesar. Chu Hong seizes the moment and unleashes his Royal Blaze to add pressure. Norton matches it with equal power and a blinding explosion fills the battlefield. Everyone loses their vision except Caesar. In that exact moment, he tears off his blindfold and shouts for Zero to fire. The torpedo launches and drives straight into Norton's chest. Norton roars in pain and crashes into the water below. But the victory has a cost. Caesar forgot to cover his ears during the launch. His eardrums are damaged and he cannot hear anything. Zero has to use sign language to communicate with him. Caesar signs back without any difficulty, revealing he is completely fluent. He learned it for his mother, who is deaf. Zero shares that she learned it to deal with deep loneliness. The moment between them is quiet and genuine. Chu Hong reports that his helicopter is too damaged to continue and pulls back. Meanwhile, Mingfei and Nano are still underwater and running out of time. Against everything working against them, they finally spot the diving bell. Motong has been holding her breath far beyond normal limits. She signals Mingfei to take the respirator. He breathes in deeply and for the first time in hours allows himself to believe they might actually survive. But that hope disappears instantly. Motong presses her fingerprint to the panel and pushes Mingfei inside the bell, making sure he is secure. Before she can step in herself, Norton resurfaces without warning and drives straight through her. Mingfei freezes completely. The person who carried him through everything is bleeding right in front of him. In her final moments, Nano does not cry or panic. She uses every last bit of strength she has to seal the bell shut from the outside. She keeps Mingfei safe and stays behind herself. Inside the bell, Mingfei completely falls apart. Every memory of her rushes through him all at once. Every time she protected him, pushed him forward, and refused to give up on him. He understands now that he was not just losing someone who looked out for him, he was losing the one person who made him feel like he was worth something. He weeps inside the bell while watching her through the very barrier she chose to close between them. Just as grief threatens to completely overwhelm him, Mingfei slips into another vision. He finds himself on a raft drifting through a strange and unsettling dreamscape. Liu Mingai appears before him, drawn out by the intensity of Mingfei's heartbreak. At first, Mingai keeps his distance, but the moment he mentions the possibility of saving Nano, Mingfei's full attention snaps forward instantly. Before offering anything, Mingai asks him a deeper question. Why did Mingfei choose Castle College in the first place? Mingfei answers honestly. He only wanted to appear capable for his parents. He admits he has been pretending his entire life and has always depended on others to carry him. When it comes to Nano, he breaks completely. She is the only person who has kept him going. Mingai responds without any kindness. He tells Mingfei that Nano only ever supported him out of pity. That truth cuts deeply. Mingfei weeps and begs for her life without any pride left. Mingai finally lays out the terms. He will save Nano and give Mingfei the power to face Norton. But every time Mingfei uses one of these special abilities, he loses a quarter of his remaining life. 4 uses, and his soul belongs to Mingai permanently. Mingfei agrees without a single moment of hesitation. He signs the contract entirely for Nano's sake. Mingai watches with a smirk, quietly satisfied that love has made Mingfei walk straight into his trap. Back in reality, Mingfei wakes up with new Yanling power flowing through him. He moves to Nano immediately. He heals her wounds, places an oxygen mask on her face, secures her inside the diving bell, and sends her up to the surface. Caesar's crew spots the signal and rushes to pull her out with medics, ready and waiting. Nano survives, but Mingfei has just traded away a portion of his soul to make it happen. With Nano safe, Mingfei prepares Mingfei for the real fight ahead. Mingfei doubts whether his new power is anywhere near enough. Mingfei then reveals something important. The box recovered from Yashang's body is the key. It contains 7 powerful weapons that Norton himself created long ago. Weapons that are sharp enough to destroy their own maker. Before Mingfei charges in, Mingai advises one critical first move. He must silence Norton. A dragon who cannot speak cannot use his most dangerous techniques. Mingfei summons the ancient box and it opens with an unsettling glow. He reaches in and picks 2 weapons, one purple and one yellow. Mingai takes one look and points out that Mingfei has somehow chosen the 2 weakest options available, but there is no time to reconsider. These weapons will have to be enough. Mingfei goes in with everything he has and nothing left to lose. The moment he charges at Norton, both weapons shift and glow with their true forms. His first strike lands well and tears into part of Norton's mouth. For a brief moment, he actually looks capable, but the reality of fighting underwater sets in fast. Without stable footing, his movements become uncontrolled and ineffective. Norton is barely inconvenienced. Then Mingai intervenes and stabilizes Mingfei's movement in the water completely. Suddenly, Mingfei has full control of his body. His grief and fury combine into something focused and dangerous. He stops flailing and starts fighting. Episode 16. The battle intensifies. As a single human armed with ancient weapons fights the very creature that created them. Up on the ship, the crew realizes with growing horror that Norton is not just alive. He is locked in a serious fight with their first-year student. Norton pulls back into the deep water to recover. Mingfei feels a wave of sadness wash over him. He wonders quietly who would even grieve for him if he died here. Mingai pulls him back into the vision realm immediately. He reminds him that dragons do not get tired. If Mingfei wants any real chance of winning, it has to be right now. Mingai then reveals something critical. The spell suppressing Norton's Yanling is wearing off. Norton's only true weak point is the human-shaped body sitting on top of the dragon's head. Mingfei activates his Yanling and his senses sharpen intensely. It is overwhelming at first. Then Mingai merges his own power with Mingfei's and gives him the clarity he needs. Mingfei strikes hard and carves into Norton's form. It is not enough. He aims for the body on top instead. But just before landing the final blow, he stops completely. That body belongs to Old Tang, his friend who stood by him when everyone else looked down on him. That moment of hesitation is all Norton needs. He grabs Mingfei by the throat and begins squeezing. Mingai forces a deadly dagger into his hand. With no other option left, Mingfei drives it into Norton's body. The Dragon King begins hardening and turning to stone as Mingfei floats upward, weeping. Memories of Old Tang rush through him. The friendship, the betrayal, and the painful truth that he has just killed someone he once called a friend. On the ship, all attention turns to Motong. The doctor confirms her condition is stable. When she finally opens her eyes, the entire crew responds with overwhelming relief. Caesar looks visibly moved, but Zero quickly notices something. Mingfei is nowhere on the ship. She spots him drifting alone in the water and immediately jumps in to bring him back. Nearby, Mai has been waiting quietly for her moment. She contacts her employer and reports that Mingfei survived as anticipated. Then she turns her attention to Norton. The once powerful Dragon King is now partially stone and barely moving. She raises her rifle loaded with a special alchemic bullet and ends it with a single clean shot. Norton's reign closes not with a dramatic finale, but with total silence. Mai reports her success and sets the rifle aside. Back on the ship, word arrives that Chu Hong is alive and recovering at a nearby airport. Meanwhile, Mingfei sits with the principal in his office. The principal informs him that he scored perfectly on both his written and practical exams. It is a historic achievement for the school. But the principal does not let him rest for long. He assigns Mingfei a thesis to write. The topic is the twin dragon kings created by the Black Dragon Emperor Nidhogg. The principal explains that Nidhogg created 4 pairs of dragon kings, 8 in total. These dragons even took human form at various points to better understand emotions. Then the principal produces an old photograph. It shows a young Old Tang standing with a group of friends. He explains that Old Tang was actually a dragon king living in disguise. He had once lost his parents and responded by using his wealth to fund orphanages. But the principal makes one thing very clear. Even without Constantine's death, Old Tang would have eventually revealed his true nature as Dragon King Norton and turned against humanity regardless. Mingfei asks why dragons are still kept completely secret from the world. The principal explains simply, if people found out, society would fall into chaos. Some things are better kept hidden for the sake of stability. A letter, then, arrives from Mingfei's parents. They congratulate him on surviving and express how much they look forward to his graduation. The warmth of their words nearly brings him to tears. The principal then asks about the encounter with Norton, and specifically how Motong managed to survive. Remembering Mingai's warning, Mingfei says nothing. The principal does not push further. Back at the dorms, Mingfei is furious to discover that Finger posted about his underwater heroics online without asking. Before things escalate, Caesar walks in casually asking to borrow salt. Finger cheerfully explains the new room arrangements. Caesar and Chu Hong now share a room across the hall. Motong and Shi Hong's assistant have moved in next door. Nano walks in carrying chocolate and thanks Mingfei sincerely for saving her life. She tells him that his promise to protect her is what pulled her back to consciousness, though the details remain unclear to her. Finger immediately rushes out to claim his share of the chocolate. Shortly after, a package arrives. It is a brand new phone sent by Mingay, who wants a more direct way to communicate with Mingfei going forward. Finally, in his office, the principal reviews Mingfei's old exam papers and finds a drawing tucked inside. It shows Mingfei sitting by a window beside Mingai. The principal recognizes Mingai immediately. He burns the drawing without hesitation and then welcomes Mingfei officially back to the academy. In the desolate frozen landscape of Black Swan Bay, a young girl named Renata carries a blindfolded boy across a battlefield. Targeted by heavy bombardment, the boy reveals his identity as a king and saves Renata by sealing a magical contract with a kiss, awakening her latent powers to survive a missile strike. He displays overwhelming force by summoning a massive skeleton dragon from a spatial rift to annihilate the surrounding military fleet. Principal Anju of Cassel College monitors the destruction and classifies the boy as Test Subject 0. He initiates an S-Rank mission involving Lu Mingfei's parents, Lu Lixing, and his pregnant wife, Chao Wei. On a moving train, the king proves his terrifying status by effortlessly dispatching 172 hybrid students, using his royal bloodline to force them into physical submission before crushing them. As his physical body begins to fail under the strain of his magic, the king negotiates a deal with Anju, 0 hours, 19 minutes, 18 seconds. In exchange for Renata's safety and a guaranteed future at the college, he surrenders a mysterious briefcase. Before disappearing into particles that enter Chao Wei's body, the king asks Renata to remember him as Zero. With the birth of Lu Mingfei, it revealed that he is the vessel for the 9th Dragon King. Concurrently, an agent named Chujia is sent into deep cover in Xingu to protect the briefcase, setting the stage for the conflict to come. Chu Tianzhao leads a quiet double life as a driver in Xingu while protecting a mysterious briefcase. He maintains a strained relationship with his young son, Chu Zihang, who remains unaware of his father's secret identity as an elite hybrid. During a heavy storm, Tianzhao picks up Zihang from school in a luxury Maybach. As they drive through the rain, Zihong voices his resentment toward his father's perceived mediocrity and their broken family dynamic. The mundane drive takes a terrifying turn when the vehicle enters a supernatural domain known as Nibelungen. This realm of the dead is filled with shadow creatures and death servitors that begin to swarm the car. Amidst the chaos, Zihong suffers through a painful awakening of his own dragon bloodline, causing his eyes to glow golden for the first time. Tianjiao reveals his hidden strength by drawing a divine sword from his umbrella to cut down the monsters. The atmosphere grows heavy as the legendary deity Odin appears on the battlefield, demanding the briefcase. Realizing he cannot win this fight and keep his son safe, Tianjiao chooses to sacrifice himself. He forces Zihong into the car and commands the vehicle to escape the domain. In an emotional farewell, Tianjiao tells his son that he carries half of his father's soul and must live a long life filled with friends. He uses his temporal ability called Zero Time to freeze the enemies, but the power fails to affect Odin, who claims the magic of gods. Zihong is safely transported back to the real world just as a massive explosion erupts behind him. He finds himself alone in the rain with no trace of his father or the battlefield. Years later at Cassel College, Zihong listened to a song from that day and silently remembered the man who gave everything so he could have a future. Lu Mingfei returns home for summer vacation and finds himself doing mundane chores for his aunt, including buying groceries and hardware supplies for a broken cupboard. On his birthday, July 17th, he receives a formal greeting from the AI Norma and a surprise message from Chu Zihong adding him to a group chat. He also gets a message from his former crush, Chen Wenwen, inviting him to a literature club gathering at a hotel. Despite his initial reluctance, he heads out with his grocery bags and a replacement toilet seat. Meanwhile, a devastating earthquake strikes a railway station in Xingu, burying a Cassel College agent named Raymond along with vital secret information. Principal Anju and the college professors classify the recovery as a SSS-Rank mission. They assign Chu Zihong and Lu Mingfei to the case, specifically designating Lu Mingfei as the mission lead. Chu Zihong arrives at the hotel party where Lu Mingfei is being bullied by his old classmates. In a dramatic display of loyalty, Chu Zihong bows to Lu Mingfei, referring to him as the mission leader and paying his bill with a generous tip. This shocking reversal of status leaves the classmates stunned. Later, Chu Zihong uses his influence to reserve a luxury dinner at the high-end Spezia restaurant for Lu Mingfei and Chen Wenwen by offering a personal favor to whoever secures the table. This offer even moves Caesar, who pulls strings to ensure the most luxurious experience for Lu Mingfei. As the duo heads to the ruined Xingu station to recover the missing data, it is revealed that the secret files have already been stolen. A mysterious Joker figure and an accomplice are seen trading information regarding the Nibelungen program, Lu Mingfei and Chu Zihong. They possess a list of dragon bones stored in the college cellar and plan a handoff at 7 p.m., setting a dangerous deadline for the heroes. Lu Mingfei and Chu Zihong visit the Xingu Southern Railway Station to investigate the aftermath of the earthquake and the death of Agent Raymond. Chu Zihong contacts Motong via video call, and she uses her analytical abilities to reconstruct the final moments of Raymond. She determines that Raymond was alert but became careless once he felt safe, eventually being crushed by falling debris during the quake. Motong also detects that a thief stole the secret documents shortly after Raymond died, and she notes the presence of a mysterious third person who frightened the thief away. Cassel College identifies the likely culprit as the Millennium Labor Export Company, a front for a hunter organization led by Teng Wei. The college professors reveal that this group is dangerous and has previously clashed with the college. Despite Chu Zihong preferring to work alone, the school board insists on sending 5 additional agents from the labor department to assist him, which concerns the professors as it might interfere with his workflow. Back home, Lu Mingfei finds his apartment transformed by Chu Zihong's professional team, who have replaced his broken cupboard and prepared a lavish birthday feast to appease his aunt and uncle. A driver waits downstairs to take him to a reserved dinner with Chen Wenwen. During the meal, Lu Mingfei receives a notification that the mission has officially began at 6:50 p.m. Realizing he is needed at the Ruta Tower by 7:25 p.m., he abruptly leaves the dinner, telling Chen Wenwen the bill is already paid. Meanwhile, an assault breaks out on the Ruta Tower. While the 5 Labor Department agents create a massive distraction at Building B, Chu Zihong infiltrates Building A disguised as a flower delivery man. He successfully neutralizes the guards and reaches Building A, preparing to head to the 21st floor to retrieve the stolen documents. Chu Zihong moves through the corridors of Building A with focused intensity as he neutralizes every security guard in his path. The mission remains critical as he seeks the secret documents located on the 21st floor. Outside the tower, a mysterious figure wearing a mask like a joker begins a rhythmic chanting that activates a powerful rank 29 ability. This sound waves distort the minds of everyone nearby, turning ordinary guards into mindless puppets who attack without regard for their own lives. Chu Zihang finds himself frustrated because these opponents refuse to stay down despite his precise strikes. The chanting intensifies until it creates a mental trap specifically designed for Chu Zihang. He begins to lose his grip on reality as the environment shifts into a nightmare from his past. He sees the rain in the car where he was separated from his father years ago. The Joker figure manipulates these memories to push him into a state of pure blood rage. His physical appearance shifts as dragon scales emerge on his skin and his eyes glow with a terrifying light. In this berserk form, he perceives the human guards as the death saboteurs who ruined his life. He unsheathes his blade and begins a ruthless slaughter while eventually releasing the ruler's flame, which sets the entire floor ablaze. As he reaches the office of the executive Tang Wei, he is seconds away from committing a final act of violence. Suddenly, his phone rings with a call from Lu Mingfei. The familiar voice acts as an anchor that pulls him out of the deep illusion. He regains his senses just in time to spare the terrified executive. He secures the documents and exits the burning tower where he meets Lu Mingfei. Exhausted and covered in wounds, he leans on his friend and admits that the call saved him from disappearing into the darkness of his own mind. Chu Zihang and Lu Mingfei prepare to leave for Cassel College as the midnight flight approaches. Before they head to the airport, Chu Zihang stops at his family home to retrieve his passport. He explains the nature of the blood rage technique to Lu Mingfei while describing it as a dangerous method that enhances spiritual cultivation to grant dragon-like physical abilities. While inside the house, Chu Zihang quietly treats a painful wound in his abdomen caused by a glass shard. From the previous battle, he is careful not to let even a single drop of his corrosive blood touch the floor. He finds his mother asleep on the sofa after she tried to cook dumplings for his journey. He shares a tender moment with the housemaid Auntie Tong by instructing her to provide his mother with warm milk and sugar every night to ensure she rests well. In a different location, Caesar Gattuso attends a secret board meeting led by Principal Anjou. The leaders discuss the successful defeat of the Dragon King of Bronze and Flame. Anjou presents a rare Philosopher's Stone refined from the remains of Constantine as undeniable proof of their victory. The board members debate the upcoming Niflheim plan, which aims to prepare the next generation of heroes for the awakening of the remaining Dragon Kings and the terrifying Black Dragon. Frost Gattuso pushes Caesar to take a leadership role while promising that the Council of Elders has found ways to strengthen his bloodline. Caesar remains defiant and criticizes his uncle for being cold and disconnected from family before he walks out of the room. The journey continues at the airport where Lu Mingfei brings food for his friend. Chu Zihang looks back at his home one last time while feeling a sense of duty toward both his family and the college. Caesar Gattuso exits the intense board meeting with a heavy heart while his uncle Frost follows him to demand his cooperation. Frost reminds him of his noble heritage and the importance of the Niflheim plan, but Caesar feels a deep disconnect from the Gattuso name. He reflects on his mother and the way the family treated her as nothing more than a vessel for their bloodline. Even though Frost offers to approve his marriage to Motong as a bribe, Caesar refuses to let his life be managed like a business transaction. He tells his uncle to leave before his anger takes over, while asserting that any choice he makes will be as an individual rather than a family pawn. On the road to the airport, Chu Zihang and Lu Mingfei share a quiet moment in the car. Chu Zihang admits that he initially doubted the skills of his companion, but he still asks him to sign off on the mission report. Their journey is briefly interrupted when the corrosive blood of the Dragon Warrior begins to leak from his wounds and burn through the vehicle. Chu Zihang steps into the rain to treat himself in solitude while keeping Lu Mingfei at a safe distance. Later, they discuss the dinner with Chen Wenwen, and Lu Mingfei realizes that his friend used a clever trick to help him secure that final meeting. As Lu Mingfei falls into a deep sleep on the plane, he encounters the mysterious Lu Mingze in a dream. The younger boy offers him absolute power and explains how the world looks from the top of the social ladder. Lu Mingfei rejects these dark temptations and eventually wakes up to finish a mature phone call with his old crush. They both acknowledge that their lives have moved in different directions. Upon arriving in Chicago, the pair finds the city in the middle of a strike. Their quiet arrival turns into a rescue mission when Chu Zihang leaps forward to catch a falling woman near the station. Chu Zihang catches a falling young woman named Xiami at the Chicago subway station just as she tumbles from a high banner. Lu Mingfei is immediately struck by her beauty and wonders if she is a devil lady while she playfully corrects him and introduces herself as a new student for Cassel College. Since the subway strike has left her without funds or a place to stay, Chu Zihang offers to let her stay with them in their hotel room. Xiami agrees and even treats them to free drinks from a subway machine that the workers forgot to unplug. Once at the hotel, the group settles into an unusual routine where both Chu Zihang and Xiami spend 30 minutes standing perfectly straight to maintain their backbones. They discuss the Emerald Tablet and the legendary writings of the god Hermes, which supposedly contain the remnants of Dragon King scriptures. The next morning, Lu Mingfei wakes up alone and finds himself in a dream domain controlled by Lu Mingze. The small boy serves him a lavish breakfast and offers a special cheat code that grants $10,000 whenever Lu Mingfei says show the money. He also warns Lu Mingfei of a looming risk and leaves a letter on the desk regarding a secret mission. Back in the real world, Lu Mingfei finds a note from his friends saying they went sightseeing, and he notices a letter directing him to a car waiting on the lower floor for a mission. At Castle College, the professors open Chu Zihang's secret files and discover a startling connection between his father and a mysterious storm in the past. They realize the school board is planning the Niflheim Plan, which aims to eliminate students with unstable dragon bloodlines who pose a threat to human society. Chu Zihang and Lu Mingfei are among those targeted for potential experimentation. The professors decide to protect their students by burning the original documents just as a board representative named Parsi arrives to collect the briefcase. Lu Mingfei receives a mysterious letter from Castle College directing him to a luxury car waiting downstairs where he discovers Principal Anjou inside. The car is being operated by the AI Norma, and Anjou explains that they are in Chicago to attend the famous Sotheby auction. Anjou has already set up a new identity for Lu Mingfei as a wealthy young man interested in fine art to buy gifts for an art student girlfriend. He even provides Lu Mingfei with an account containing $1 million for mission funds, though he warns that the money must be returned afterward. As they drive, they are suddenly trapped in a virtual barrier created by a Yanling user, which only those with dragon blood can enter. Anjou easily deactivates the barrier with a single kick and brutally defeats the 4 attackers who try to use gravity manipulation and time interference against him. Once they arrive at the auction, Lu Mingfei tries to look the part of a rich man by wearing multiple watches and expensive brands, although the crowd mocks his lack of dressing sense. Before the bidding begins, a ritual occurs where the lights go out and everyone reveals their golden eyes to show their pure dragon bloodlines and dominance. Anjou explains that many secret organizations like the Sacred Party and Hunter Organization are present, and they do not all share the same peaceful goals for humanity. Lu Mingfei sits next to a man named Romario Tang who tries to strike up a friendship. Anjou instructs Lu Mingfei to stay quiet to avoid blowing his cover. The auction eventually reaches a mysterious item that the auctioneer cannot identify, but describes as a precious artifact containing multiple weapons. Lu Mingfei is shocked to recognize the item as the box of 7 deadly sins containing 7 powerful weapons he previously encountered. Anjou insists that Lu Mingfei must win this item for the college regardless of the cost. Lu Mingfei stands at the center of a high-stakes auction where the 7 deadly sins weapon set sits on the display stage. Although the general audience views the blades as modern replicas, Mingfei recognizes the deep slumber within their souls from his previous encounter with the Dragon Lord Norton. Principal Anjou commands him to secure the artifact at any cost, leading to a fierce bidding war with a mysterious masked lady. The price escalates rapidly from mere dollars to millions, eventually hitting a wall when the lady bids $15 million. When Lu Mingfei hesitates out of fear, his inner consciousness taunts his cowardice. This internal friction sparks a sudden resolve, and he boldly shouts a bid of $100 million. The auction hall falls into a shocked silence. Security officials immediately escort him to the finance department to verify his wealth, discovering only $20,000 in his account. Just as they prepare to punish him for fake bidding, Ming Zizai intervenes through the digital network. Using the secret command to show the money, he floods the account with capital. The finance officer watches in terror as the balance screen glitches and resets to display the massive sum. Lu Mingfei returns to the hall as the victor, leaving the official stunned by his sudden display of power. Outside the main hall, the masked lady approaches him. She offers a cryptic compliment and a kiss on the cheek before fleeing the building. She uses her supernatural speed to outmaneuver the guards sent by Romario Tang to capture her. Meanwhile, Anjou meets with the elders of the Secret Alliance. He confirms the death of the Dragon Prince Constantine and admits the college holds the remains. He explains that Norton vanished into the ocean depths after a devastating torpedo strike, marking a significant victory for their organization. Principal Anjou confronts the Secret Alliance and the Medical Society regarding the remains of the Dragon Prince Constantine. When a representative suggests sharing the bones so hybrids can eventually rule as new Dragon Kings, Anjou grows furious. He activates his zero-time ability and uses a blade to shave the man-beard in a split second, warning the assembly that anyone seeking to replace the dragons is his enemy. Nearby, Harkal discusses Lu Mingfei with a masked observer, revealing that the $100 million for the auction was mysteriously crowdsourced from millions of small bank accounts globally. Harkal suspects a godlike force is protecting the boy and orders a closer watch on his actions at Kessel College. Anju later drives Lu Mingfei to an amusement park to meet Chu Zihang and Modong. During the journey, Anju demands that the boy find a true ambition, claiming that life without a purpose is meaningless. This pressure triggers a surreal vision where Lu Mingfei meets a younger version of himself. The child tells him they must survive at all costs and destroy anyone who threatens their existence. Lu Mingfei wakes in the car with tears in his eyes, though the principal chooses not to question his emotional state. The group gathers at the park and boards a massive roller coaster for their mission. Mid-ride, the tracks begin to disintegrate. Time freezes as Ming Zizai appears to offer a rescue in exchange for a piece of the boy life. But the deal fails when Anju regains his focus. The principal uses his powers to stretch 6 seconds into 5 minutes, providing a narrow window for survival. Chu Zihang identifies an emergency brake and instructs Lu Mingfei to connect specific colored wires. While the boy prepares the electrical connection, Chu Zihang moves to the front to physically intercept the collapsing steel. Chu Zihang stands before the careening roller coaster and activates his Blood Rage and Yanling Ruler Flame to incinerate the collapsing tracks. The intense pressure of his counterattack pushes the coaster back into a safe position, but the effort leaves him near death from the physical strain and electrical shock. As he loses consciousness, Motong uses her Yanling Wind King eyes to glide through the air and catch him in her arms. Chu Zihang catches a faint scent of flowers before passing out, believing he is in the embrace of an angel. Back at Kessel College, Principal Anju holds a secret meeting to discuss the recent subway and park disasters. The experts conclude that the destruction was caused by someone manipulating the internal structure of the materials through sheer force. They speculate that the Dragon Emperor of Earth and Mountain is beginning to awaken and is using these attacks to instill fear. Anju warns everyone that a massive war is approaching and they must prepare for the worst. Following the meeting, Anju takes Lu Mingfei to a secret underground facility, called the Black Swan Harbor Section, which houses a massive artificial forest, thousands of species, and a pyramid brought from South Africa. Inside the pyramid, Anju reveals that the Mayan civilization predicted the end of the world, caused by 4 dragon emperors representing different elements. He explains that humans once tried to breed with dragons to steal their power, creating the first hybrids. He warns Lu Mingfei that overusing the Blood Rage technique can cause a hybrid to lose their humanity and evolve into a mindless killing machine known as a death servitor. Later, at the hospital, Motong watches over a recovering Chu Zihang, who has been in a coma for 10 days. Although Anju warns Chu Zihang not to give blood samples to the school board, a mysterious representative from Frost manages to manipulate Chu Zihang into handing over a sample. Later, it is revealed that Anju had secretly hypnotized Chu Zihang during their conversation. Anju plays back a recording for an old friend showing that under hypnosis, Chu Zihang remembered a hidden entrance from his traumatic past. When pressed for details about the rainy night his father disappeared, Chu Zihang identifies the location as Entrance Gate Number 0, revealing a new lead in the search for the Dragon Lords. Principal Anju meets with the Night Watchman to discuss Chu Zihang's connection to the Land of the Death, also known as Nibelungen. Anju believes Chu Zihang has visited this legendary realm before and may be the key to finding it again. The Night Watchman is skeptical, noting that Nibelungen is a divine temple typically closed to the living, but Anju points to evidence found in Chu Zihang's damaged car. They also discuss the upcoming arrival of an investigation team from the school board, led by a man named Andrew, who intends to remove Anju from his position. The board views Chu Zihang's powerful Yanling as a liability and a potential threat. To distract the investigation, Team the Night Watchman welcomes them with a massive party and a tour of the college, ensuring they are too intoxicated to conduct a proper inquiry. Meanwhile, Lu Mingfei plays the role of a love guru for Chu Zihang, who is confused about his feelings for Xiami. Lu Mingfei explains that love requires no reason and encourages Chu Zihang to be honest with his heart. When Xiami arrives at the hospital with homemade soup, Lu Mingfei leaves them alone to avoid being a third wheel. Xiami and Chu Zihang share a lighthearted moment where they discuss their shared history as junior high school classmates, though Chu Zihang still struggles to recall all the details of their past. In another part of the college, Finger reveals his secret identity as a skilled marksman and a deep-cover operative. He meets with Noma to discuss Caesar's request to marry Motong. Finger asks Noma to delay the request to protect Lu Mingfei's emotional stability, as he knows the boy cares deeply for her there. Conversation is interrupted when Noma detects an intruder in the high-security ice cellar. A dragon descendant has broken through the barriers and is targeting the remains of Constantine. Finger dons a mask and heads out to intercept the threat, revealing that he was the masked man previously seen talking to Hankel. Late at night, Anju recruits Lu Mingfei for a dangerous fieldwork assignment. He tasks Lu Mingfei with taking the 7 deadly sins into the ice cellar. Lu Mingfei's mission is to place the weapons near a giant tree to strengthen the containment barrier. As Lu Mingfei cautiously explores the treasure-filled cellar, he is unaware that the Joker-like intruder has already reached the same location. The intruder uses his blood to perform a dark ritual, intending to resurrect the sleeping dragon prince. Lu Mingfei stands within the depths of the ice cellar, his heart racing as the ground beneath him trembles with the force of an unseen battle. Above, the intruder unleashes a devastating Yanling known as the Heaven and Earth Furnace, summoning fire and lightning to shatter the protective walls. Finger and Parsi arrive just in time to intercept the threat, but they find themselves outmatched by the intruder's ability to manipulate iron from his own blood. The struggle becomes a desperate game of time as Finger moves to protect Lu Mingfei, demanding that the boy finish the reinforcement of the barrier within 3 minutes. While the warriors engage in a brutal exchange of blows and magical energy, Lu Mingfei scrambles toward the ancient tree that serves as the central point of the college defenses. He remembers the lessons of the principal, realizing that the seal requires geothermal energy to function properly. Despite his fear, he seizes the thick roots and channels his focus, his eyes beginning to glow with a strange power. The energy surges through the roots and into the mark, successfully reactivating the barrier just as the intruder attempts to seize the remains of the Dragon Prince Constantine. Frustrated by the sudden wall of energy, the intruder decides to flood the entire cellar by destroying the massive water pipes connected to the ocean above. Seawater begins to pour into the chamber, rising rapidly and threatening to drown everything within. Parsi and Finger manage to secure an elevator using a high-authority pass, leaving Lu Mingfei behind within his safe zone while they seek diving equipment for a rescue. Alone in the rising tide and surrounded by ancient treasures, Lu Mingfei feels a deep sense of loneliness, questioning if his friends or family truly remember him if he disappears forever into the dark water. Lu Mingfei stands within the shrinking barrier alongside the remains of Constantine, reflecting on his life as the water rises around him. Just as he accepts his fate, Principal Anju arrives to rescue him, promising that his efforts earn him academic credits. Once safe, Anju receives a call from the night watchman, who reveals that the school board is summoning Chu Zihang for a public hearing regarding the stability of his bloodline. The board intends to use the session to challenge the oversight of the administration and pressure Anju. Lu Mingfei hurries to the Valhalla building, where the hearing is already underway. He sits with Shavi and Motong, feeling the tension between the Student Union and the Lionheart Society. During the questioning, a representative named Andrew tries to discredit Lu Mingfei and Chu Zihang by suggesting their recent mission reports are fabricated. Lu Mingfei surprises everyone by confidently defending his role as the mission leader, while Motong stands up to confirm his capabilities. The atmosphere shifts further when Parsi demonstrates the destructive nature of dragon blood, yet Shavi cleverly points out that the test does not prove the blood belongs to Chu Zihang. Caesar's unexpected support for his rival Chu Zihang ultimately sways the assembly. He declares that their rivalry is fair and that the accusations are baseless, leading the board to declare Chu Zihang innocent. The victory is short-lived, as news breaks of a dragon named Fenris Sulfur awakening in Tokyo with a massive bounty on its head. Chu Zihang immediately volunteers for the hunting mission to fully clear his name, and Lu Mingfei and Finger are assigned to join him as part of a multi-team operation that also includes Caesar, Motong, and Shavi. Before their departure, Anju presents the group with the 7 Deadly Sins, a set of legendary weapons refined by the Bronze and Flame King to target the weaknesses of the Dragon Emperors. Each member attempts to lift the swords, with Finger successfully drawing 3 while Lu Mingfei struggles with the smallest. When Chu Zihang tries to pull the Sword of Greed, the weapon rejects him and injures his hand. Afterward, Anju speaks privately with Chu Zihang, revealing his knowledge of the boy's hidden struggles with blood rage and the mysterious disappearance of his father years ago. Anju promises to teach him more about his powers, preparing him for the dangerous journey ahead. Principal Anju explains the dragon bloodline technique to Chu Zihang, revealing how it increases blood purity but requires a specific serum to prevent corruption. This serum remains central to the school board's secret plan to filter the student body, identifying the elite while discarding the weak. Anju warns that both Chu Zihang and Lu Mingfei are being monitored under this scheme. To prove his stability, Chu Zihang receives orders to hunt the awakening Dragon Emperor in Chengdu. Anju entrusts him with a precious folding knife once owned by a lost friend and shares the tragic history of Finger, who was once a top-ranked student before a mission 10 years ago ruined his standing. In a different part of the campus, Caesar receives a lethal crossbow from the school board equipped with an arrow, carved from the Philosopher's Stone. Suji provides Caesar with classified documents about blood users in exchange for his help during the hearing, though she worries about Chu Zihang's reaction to her interference. As the teams depart, Lu Mingfei and his companions board a commercial flight while Caesar enjoys the luxury of a private jet. Finger observes that the sky is crowded with hybrids, all drawn by a viral video showing a dragon swarm awakening in Antarctica. Upon reaching Chengdu, Lu Mingfei reunites with his friend Tang. Nearby, mysterious women monitor the situation, revealing that their hidden leader wants Lu Mingfei to land the final blow on the dragon using the 7 deadly sins. While Chu Zihang uses seismic data to track the Earth and Mountain King, Xavi visits to invite him to a family dinner. Caesar meets a contact named Mr. Lin to buy ancient maps of the city, unaware that Parsi is watching from the shadows. The night ends with Chu Zihang receiving a package of notebooks that contain shocking details about the day his father disappeared. Chu Zihang spends a long night scouring ancient records for information regarding the disappearance of his father 6 years ago. He notices that his physical strength and blood purity have finally stabilized, giving him the confidence to stop running from his past. Finger joins him as they discover cryptic articles about hidden subway stations in Chengdu named Shishi and Shangshiling. These stations do not appear on official maps, and hidden text within the posts suggests a specific ritual involving transit cards to unlock access to the Dragon Emperor lair. Although Chu Zihang remains skeptical of ghost stories, he decides the coordinates are too precise to ignore. In a different part of the city, Lu Mingfei finds himself at a gaming cafe where a woman steals his phone and lures him into a rainy alley. He is cornered by thugs and suffers a brutal beating until Mingze appears to freeze time. Mingze offers a destructive power called Something for Nothing while mocking the boy for his persistent loneliness. To demonstrate this gift, Mingze fuses with Lu Mingfei and transforms him into a cold, efficient warrior who dismantles the gang with terrifying speed. Once the power fades, Lu Mingfei receives a distressing alert that Chu Zihang has vanished near the subway. He rushes to the station and crosses a strange barrier into a distorted space called Nivalis. Deep within the dark tunnels, a phantom train stops silently before him and opens its doors. Lu Mingfei ventures deeper into the eerie darkness of Nivalis while searching for Chu Zihang. He initially avoids a suspicious ghost train, but soon finds himself hunted by skeletal wind devils. High above the tunnels, 2 mysterious observers reveal they placed a specific scent on his clothes to keep the male monsters at bay. Lu Mingfei cleverly uses his flashlight to trick the creatures into colliding with each other, but a lethal female wind devil cornered him shortly after. Just as she prepares to strike, the ghost train roars through the tunnel and crushes her. Inside the carriage, Lu Mingfei meets 2 trapped students named Van and Gao, who explain that this realm is an alchemical labyrinth where death is impossible. They inform him that the only way to leave is by defeating a gatekeeper in a card game where the number of chips granted depends on the depth of one's loneliness. Lu Mingfei receives a high-value bottle cap, confirming his profound isolation. Simultaneously, Chu Zihang travels across the roof of the train until he mistakes the Wind Devils for death servitors and destroys the vehicle with his ruler flame. Xavi suddenly appears and uses her powers to blow the monsters away, revealing she followed a secret tracker she placed on his phone. Chu Zihang concludes that Nivalis is the personal domain of a Dragon King rather than a physical location. Since Xavi is wearing flimsy slippers, he carries her while they follow the tracks toward the center of the domain. Lu Mingfei is caught in a high-stakes card game against a cryptic gatekeeper with the help of his brother Mingzi. Despite having only 1 chip left, Mingzi guides him to play aggressively, turning the tide of the match. Lu Mingfei emerges victorious, allowing the other trapped students, Gao and Van, to proceed. As the gatekeeper departs and the illusion of the game room fades, Lu Mingfei continues deeper into the tunnels of Nivalis, worried that Chu Zihang might be in even greater danger. Meanwhile, Chu Zihang and Xavi travel along the tracks on an inspection vehicle towards Station 102. They share stories of their childhoods, with Chu Zihang describing his lonely trips to theme parks and Xavi revealing that she spent much of her youth playing alone because her parents focused entirely on her brother. Their journey is interrupted when a ghost car resembling the vehicle driven by Chu Zihang's father appears and rams into them. This spectral encounter triggers painful memories for Chu Zihang of the day he lost his father in the rainy realm of Nivalis years ago. After the impact, Lu Mingfei reaches the end of the line and discovers a massive dragon embedded in a wall. To his shock, the dragon is not aggressive but rather childlike, eating chips and offering to watch television with him. Lu Mingfei realizes the dragon is a prisoner in its own room, likely placed there by someone else. The peaceful moment is shattered when Chu Zihang arrives in a state of fury, intent on slaying the dragon. He activates his blood rage and ruler flame, preparing a massive fireball with Shavi's assistance to finish the creature. When the dragon sees Shavi, it appears to recognize her with a look of profound shock. Chu Zihang then uses the 7 deadly sins swords to blind and mortally wound the dragon. As the battle ends and Shavi begins to fall from exhaustion, Chu Zihang catches her in his arms. However, Shavi suddenly changes her demeanor and stabs her hand directly into Chu Zihang's chest, revealing a betrayal that leaves both Chu Zihang and Lu Mingfei paralyzed with horror. Shavi stands over the wounded Chu Zihang and reveals her true nature as the Dragon Emperor Jormungandr. The massive creature Chu Zihang attacked is actually her brother Fenrir, also known as the Dragon Emperor of Earth and Mountains. Shavi explains a grim cycle of dragon royalty where twins must eventually merge to reach their peak evolution. She intends to consume Fenrir to become Hela, the goddess of death, so she can unlock the many hidden gates of Nivalis and usher in a new age. Chu Zihang accuses her of treating her own brother like livestock, keeping him trapped in the alchemical labyrinth only to serve as a future meal. Shavi reacts with intense fury and overpowers him while describing the thousands of years she spent in total darkness on a forgotten throne with only her brother for company. While they clash, Caesar and his team struggle against thousands of wind devils at the surface. Caesar uses his heightened senses to navigate the chaos and successfully destroys a deadly female wind devil using an explosive device from the college equipment department. Below the surface, Lu Mingfei tries to intervene by retrieving the 7 deadly sin swords from the head of the dragon, but a massive explosion separates him from the fight. Mingze appears to Lu Mingfei wearing a white wedding dress and offers to save Chu Zihang in exchange for a quarter of the boy's life. Lu Mingfei rejects the deal because he suspects Mingzi might be the true mastermind behind the entire catastrophe. The battle between Chu Zihang and Shavi reaches a tragic conclusion. As Chu Zihang nears death, Shavi reveals they were classmates in middle school and she was the one who erased his memories of their time together. She chose to observe him because he carries the mark of Odin, her greatest enemy, which grants him access to a unique version of Nivalis. In a final embrace, Shavi admits she is just as lonely as the man she is about to kill. As she prepares a finishing strike, Chu Zihang readies a concealed blade for a desperate counterattack. Chu Zihang and Shavi engage in a final brutal trade of blows that leaves both critically injured. Shavi reveals she was never truly the human girl he knew, but was always the Dragon Emperor Jormungandr. She hands him a key and tells him to go find the girl he lost before she passes away. Mingze watches the scene with clinical detachment and describes it as a beautiful funeral. Lu Mingfei arrives to help Chu Zihang gather the 7 deadly sins weapons, but they are interrupted when Fenrir suddenly consumes the body of Shavi to heal his own wounds and complete his evolution. This process transforms him into the goddess of death, Hela, and he begins Shiva's dance of destruction, an apocalyptic ritual that draws in and annihilates thousands of wind devils to fuel his power. On the surface, Parsi receives a call from Frost demanding that he prioritize saving Caesar above all else. Parsi enters the collapsing Nivalis barrier to find Caesar, who is refusing to leave without finding Motong and Lu Mingfei. Caesar refines his bloodline using blood rage, causing dragon scales to appear on his body and transforming his earning ability into something far more powerful. He begins cutting through the wind devil hordes with new intensity. Meanwhile, Motong finds a recording from Vaughn explaining that the Wind Devil attack is a sacrificial ritual for the Dragon Emperor. She coordinates with Caesar to hold the line so Lu Mingfei has a chance to escape the tunnels. Chu Zihang uses his remaining strength to launch a final assault on the domain of the dragon but is repelled by a massive pressure wave. As he falls, Lu Mingfei catches him. Realizing they are both about to die, Lu Mingfei calls out to Mingze. He finally agrees to trade a portion of his life for the power to save his friend. Mingzi merges with Lu Mingfei using 60% of the Something for Nothing protocol. This new entity effortlessly shatters the domain of Fenrir with a single gesture. A spectacular close combat battle ensues where Lu Mingfei, possessed by Mingze, brutally overpowers the Dragon Emperor while wielding the 7 deadly sins. The events conclude with Lu Mingfei standing over the defeated Fenrir and declaring that the domain of the Bronze and Flame Emperor is now complete. Lu Mingfei remains possessed by Mingze and continues a brutal assault on Fenrir using the 7 Deadly Sins weapons. He activates the Bronze and Flame alchemical domain to crack the joints of the dragon and destroys a hidden secondary brain that allowed Fenrir to survive the previous attacks from Chu Zihang. Despite this immense damage, the will of the dragon remains strong. Mingze briefly manifests black wings and mocks the Imars, traitors of the world, before the transformation ends. Meanwhile, Caesar and Parsi navigate a tunnel filled with wind devils. Caesar uses a fire element crossbow to lure the creatures away from his friends, while Parsi creates a barrier that vaporizes anything it touches. They combine their family daggers to release a massive blast of power that clears the tunnel and destroys the Wind Devil Queen. The impact forces them back into the real world and leaves the final outcome in the hands of Lu Mingfei. Lu Mingfei regains consciousness to find his wounds healed and witnesses Fenrir gently regurgitating the body of Shavi. It is revealed that Fenrir was not trying to consume her for power, but was desperately attempting to protect her. The dragon cries like a child and begs his sister to wake up while promising to never ask to play again. Fenrir eventually succumbs to his injuries, and both his body and the remains of Shavi vanish. As the tunnel begins to collapse, Lu Mingfei begs Mingze to help Chu Zihang see his father one last time. Mingze transports the consciousness of Chu Zihang to a separate Nivalis domain where he finds his father fighting Odin. His father gives him encouragement and reveals that a certain briefcase is hidden in the Arctic. Chu Zihang returns to the real world satisfied but grieving. Finger arrives in a train to rescue the boys and bring them to safety. Mingze uses his power to heal the wounds of Chu Zihang, while Lu Mingfei realizes the key Shavi gave him belongs to her apartment. They meet a girl named Zero, who is relieved to see Lu Mingfei safe. She notices a mark on the hand of Chu Zihang belonging to a secret medical society but keeps the observation to herself. Motong watches them from a distance but decides to leave without approaching. Later, Chu Zihang visits the empty apartment of Shavi. He discovers she lived a very modest life and had completely fabricated her family to blend into human society. He sits on her bed and mourns the loss of the girl he once knew, while realizing his own feelings for her were real. Lu Mingfei tries to make things right with Zero by giving her some food as a late apology for not answering his calls, and this reminds Zero of her difficult past at a frozen place called Black Swan Bay, where she was once a little girl named Renata. She lived as a test subject for a scientist named Dr. Herzog, who was obsessed with genetic experiments. Renata was often alone and spent her time dreaming of a giant black snake and a scary prophecy about a devil that would one day wake up and trick the entire world. Her life changed when a military man named Major Bondarev arrived on a big ship to check on the research. Herzog told the Major that the children were special because their genes could be used to restart the human race if a massive war ever destroyed everything. The young girl eventually found a secret room holding a boy known as Zero, who had strange magic powers and heard 2 voices in his head. One voice wanted to be good while the other wanted to destroy things. They became best friends, and the boy promised to help her escape on a night when the moon was full. He even told her that the giant snake from her dreams was actually his pet. They spent their time hiding from the guards and planning a future where they could finally be free from the laboratory. Zero told her that he was not just a prisoner, but a king who would one day take back his power. Everything went wrong on Christmas Day when Herzog and Bondarev decided to blow up the entire facility to hide their secrets. Herzog released a poisonous gas that made all the adults and children lose their minds and act like animals. Renata tried to run to meet her friend before the base exploded, but a mean guard trapped her in a hallway. Just as things looked hopeless, the boy Zero appeared and used his power to beat up the guard and save her. While the base was falling apart, Bondarev betrayed Herzog by shooting him. The Major did not care about the kids or the science because his real goal was to steal the body of an ancient dragon buried under the ice. He ordered his men to take the dragon away and left the children behind in the middle of the fire and chaos. Major Bondarev shoots Dr. Herzog to seize total control of the frozen facility and finalize his plan to steal the ancient dragon carcass. He uses heavy helicopters to lift the massive remains onto a ship while his soldiers pretend to be a research team to hide their crimes. Once on the vessel, Bondarev tries to examine a glowing eye taken from the beast, but he quickly discovers it is actually a pressurized dragon egg teeming with volatile energy. The sheer pressure nearly kills him before his crew manages to stabilize the artifact using liquid nitrogen. Back at the crumbling base, Renata finds Zero suffering from the mental strain of his surgery and uses a pair of scissors to cut his bonds. She summons a pack of snow dogs using a sonic device, but the escape turns into a nightmare when fighter jets arrive to wipe out every witness on the island. Missiles rain down and destroy the base, while the pilots use tracking devices in the dog collars to hunt the children across the ice. Renata is caught in a massive explosion that leaves her bleeding and broken, but she still attempts to reach for a machine gun to protect her friend. In her final moments of consciousness, Zero appears to her and offers a life-saving contract. He promises that she will live to experience love and travel the world if she remains loyal to him forever. They seal the pact with a kiss, and Zero suddenly unleashes his godlike power to destroy the entire fleet of jets. He calls out to the dragon skeleton on the ship, which comes to life and annihilates the remaining enemies in a storm of fire. In the present day, Caesar rescues Motong from drowning and proposes to her under the moonlight. She accepts his ring and they share a kiss as he vows to protect her from all future burdens. Chu Zihong later visits Lu Mingfei to break the news of the engagement. Lu Mingfei reflects on his dwindling life and wonders if he could ever have been enough for Motong. That night, he enters a dream world where Mingzi announces he is taking a vacation and will not be available to help him for a month. He warns Lu Mingfei that a new mission will soon take him to a place where his dark powers cannot reach. The story concludes with a glimpse of a mysterious ritual in a distant land, suggesting that even greater threats are waiting in the shadows. Thanks for watching till the end. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more anime recaps.